fix this. Oh my goodness. And all this happened when I tried. It was fine, and then when I tried to to get on Patreon, it all went awry. Okay, let me OBS. Just turn the fuck off, bro. Like, be for real right now. Why are you being like this? Why do you have so many things open and yet nothing working? Like, do you have any fucking sense of integrity? What do you mean that could not happen? Need to restart it. Jesus Christ. Need to restart it. Jesus Christ. Talk about a whammy. Okay. Let me get the chat open. Oh, you guys have not said one thing. Not one thing. I'm like, let me know how you doing. What's going on? How are yous? How's yous doings? What's life is like? Not one peep. Not one peep. Okay, let me open up our document so we can get going, because we need our flow chart, don't we? Oh. I was like, what's that popping up on the side? That was somebody talking. Okay, let's close out this, We got our diagnostic. Doing neutral, I guess. Full moon has been helpful, but soon moves need to be made. Hi, I've been jamming to American Girls by Harry Styles. Oh, I don't know that song. Also, where am I? Right here. Right here. We're going to put some Spotify on, because you just mentioned music. You know, I've been diving into older music recently, seeing it through a different lens, you know, given everything that's happened over the past bit. You know, I think I'm going to put on some Ray, because her stuff is wild. I like her. The music may contain hope. I like that album. I don't know, I've just been hearing some stuff. I'm just going to let it play. See what happens. See if she inspires us. Oh, maybe not, because then I'm going to want to listen to the album, and I'm just going to ignore all of you. So, never mind. We're just going to put on, like, songs. See where the night takes us. Okay. So, I've got this down. Let me... Wrong one. Can you guys see this? There you go. And then I'm going to open up our settings here, and then get us started on the recording. Full moon. Okay, I hate it when it does this, honestly. It's like, can I share the screen without, I don't know, having to change my whole fucking life around? Fuck. I'll stop the share for now. Oh, shit. No, stop share. There we go. I hit the button. Christ. Okay, there we go. There we go. I just wish I could do that in the thing. Jesus fucking Christ. You know, I say this all the time, guys, but I absolutely cannot fucking stand Windows. It's so unintuitive. There's so much shit that, like, every time I just try to move my screens around on my big ass fucking monitor, like, it's always trying to stick shit everywhere, and it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, Windows, and I keep complaining about them. It's like I'm in a bad relationship. You know what I mean? Like, why can't I leave? Why can't I leave? Because it's a gaming PC. That's why I got sucked in with video games. Jesus Christ. Okay. Somebody said Rochelle Jordan's dance album has been on repeat since it dropped last year. Crazy disco vibes. Ooh, okay. I'm going to have to check out both of those. American Girls, see what Harry Styles has to say. And Rochelle Jordan's, I don't think I've listened to anything by her. I might have. I'm terrible at names. Okay, so now that we're all here, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to start the recording for this so that everybody, so obviously we can have it. Record to this computer. There we go. Welcome back to class. It's Saturday. Thanks for being with me. On Thursday, I had to go to the dentist, so I had to reschedule class. And I had some really... It was also a day that I was extremely tired, but by the time I was done with everything, by the time it was time for class, I still, like, I don't really like to take medications and all that kind of stuff often because it offsets my system. And as soon as I feel like, meh, like, everything is meh. So I was like, I'm going to have to let this work its way through my system first. And so here we are. But it was good timing because this brings us after the full moon. I want to mention some things about the full moon first, just to get out of my system. I'll probably tell you guys a little bit about what I've been up to, reading wise, and how that's impacting things with Peter Pan, just a little bit. So you guys can see what I'll probably be bringing towards the end of the month, or at least where my research is taking me. And then let's see. I don't think those are any updates worth updating. And then we'll just jump into the FAQs. Well, obviously, we'll see what comes up in the chat, and then jump to the FAQ. So until then, you know what? I'm going to turn this off so that I can easily see the TikTok comments, because otherwise it becomes difficult. So, full moon. Let's jump into it. It's in Scorpio, or at least it was. The effects of it are still very much out here, right? And there's a lot of ritualistic things that people talk about doing during full moons, like putting out moon water, things like that. And then there's the, like, applicable, like, what is this full moon doing? Like, what is happening, right? So, it's in Scorpio. It's important to know the house that's in your own personal chart. Its usual house is the 8th house, what I like to call the Cave of Wonders. And I think mastering the astrology, or mastering the cosmos, we go through the houses, and I introduce it as the Cave of Wonders, because it really is. It's the place where you go. There's a genie inside, or a djinn, right? And if you touch anything that's not yours, it'll suck you in for forever. You'll be stuck in the underworld, which is essentially a matrix. It's really difficult to get out of, because this is all the non-material world is exactly that. It's not material. So it's everything in the psyche. It's made up of air and water, or the lack of air, the lack of thought, and more so the overwhelm of thought and emotion, which is like story, like not legacy necessarily, but like this is where fairy tales live. They're very old. They go back into infinity, because there is no time in this place. But every story is worth knowing, because this is the only way to navigate this place. It's kind of like where bones are. That's what graveyards and stuff like that stick in the 8th house. Other people's resources, what you can surface from others, right? Because you're digging. So anything other, to be honest, other people's resources, that's like a very humanistic way of thinking about it. But when we talk about the other, so still new to your classes, but starting non-material senses and daily astrology TikToks have helped me to navigate this weather. I'm telling you, once you have language for it, right, and then you can see it happening, then you can respond to it in a totally different way. It's literally like going through life, just running up against, but then, like, someone says, well, why don't you go downhill instead? And you're like, what are you talking about? And then they show you, like, well, why don't you, like, come this way? And you're like, well, I can't go that way because I got to use all my energy to run up this thing. And you're like, or you can just come, and then you go that way, and there's a bridge, and then you can just go downhill to get to where you're trying to go. You don't have to keep trying to run up this thing. It's like, it's just different perspective, different tools, different language to think about something. You're thinking about, instead of running up against something, which is running up against physics, you learn about physics. And so now there's engineers, and bridges can be made. Like, it really is that deep. You know what I mean? Like, once somebody had the trouble of keeping their water cold for whatever reason, and now we have freezers, and now you can enjoy ice cream. You know what I mean? Like, that's totally different than living life drinking lukewarm water all of the time, or haphazard temperatured water because of whatever environment you can stick it in. Anyways, that's just kind of like what I mean. That's not even the best way. I feel I feel like there's a better analogy somewhere, but I'm swept up in moon energy, and so good metaphors is hard. Like, the moon is all about symbols, but it's like the symbols, and like, it is but it isn't, it is but it isn't, don't look at me. Like, that's kind of the moon. So it makes like pulling up words incredibly difficult right now. I just have to deal with it. Oh my god. And then I've got this French girl screaming in my ears, voila, voila. It's voila. That's literally what it's called. But it's like, I'm here, I'm alive. And that is pretty much intense moon energy, screaming that over and over and over again, as if one has been denied the right to exist. But when you think about it, the moon is the most influential energy, and oftentimes forgotten about, right? You'd be surprised how many people they'll look up and if they see the moon, they're like, "Whoa, what is that? Since when does the moon come out during the day?" Like, that's how much people really don't pay attention to her, you know. And yet she impacts everything. So, where was I? I was talking about something and then I got lost. Oh, the Cave of Wonders. Yeah, so the Cave of Wonders, or the 8th house Scorpio, it's all of the unearthing of the other, right? Or the Cancer is more like when you go into your own interior, when you unearth yourself. But there's a difference between diving into yourself and then diving into an unknown pool, the other, right? It's kind of like this obelisk, or not obelisk, but obsidian kind of aspect to it. It's opaque is what I'm trying to get to. Is like you really cannot see beyond it. It's like sheer oil, black oil. You cannot see you cannot see into it. You cannot see around it. You can only see that it is until you go into it. And then that's Scorpio. So when you think about the moon in Scorpio, and I'm talking about black oil, man, I used to have these dreams that I'd fall into the ocean. It was pitch black. I'd always fall off these boats and I'd think, God damn it, because I hate murky water. I'm pretty sure my grandfather drove us off a bridge on accident once in France, and we drove into the river and I died on impact. It was miserable. I had this whole dream. And then I called my grandmother and she was useless. And I was like, wow, geez. How events have shaken out, Grandma, now. And then, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm dead. And then I looked up and there was 2 angels and they were just waiting for me. You know, they're the ones who gave me the coin to make the phone call, you know, so that I could call. And I remember I called my grandmother. She's like, how'd you do this? And I was like, do what? I was like, didn't you hear me? He drove off a bridge. I don't know. I think he's okay, but like, I'm not. I don't know. Nobody can see me. And she was like, wait, where are you? And I was like, and then it dawned on me, and that's when I started to feel this separation. I was like, oh shit, I'm dead, and I'm calling someone, probably tapping into her like soul from a different dimension. It was very fucking strange. But anyways, that's the moon in Scorpio. It's like all this home shit, mage, like it's like going inward, but you're going inward into the unknown, into other spaces and places. It's funny enough, I was in France and I was there for a comic con. I remember I went into this comic store and there were all of these vampire stories, and it reminded me of, I have one called The Keeper's Vow. It was one of the first books I ever wrote. It's a trilogy, but I haven't written the 3rd book yet. Although it's coming, funny enough. But it's all about vampires in a whole hidden world, right, underneath it. I based it in Boise, the city that I was in at the time. And, you know, there's a whole city underneath the city called Gray City. And all these different beings live there, and people are they're none the wiser to it, right? And then what happens when you initiate into that world where you become aware? So it's kind of like disclosure. There's a bit of disclosure that happens in the 2nd book. It's crazy. Oh man, so I'm dealing with the aftermath of that. Obviously, it was very prophetic writing, right? And the 2nd book ends and it's like disclosure, and then it's like, well, what happens after that? And I was like, I don't know. And now I'm living it, and I'm like, oh, I see why I didn't know back then. Who could have predicted all of this? Anyways, that's the moon in Scorpio. It's like you are diving in. It's not quite Piscean, where everything is prophecy and the illusions are clear and ethereal. It's more like everything is prophecy, but it's almost like you have to dig into the deep, into the dark, in order to get any piece of information you possibly can. And by the end, you are so exhausted that when you finally get clarity, it is because you have lost every bit of what you thought. And you have become something totally different, something totally new. So that the thing you're even seeking clarity on isn't what you started seeking clarity on. And that's the transformation that happens in the 8th house, right? It's like you're digging and you're digging until it's you who's been transformed. And you all have probably experienced that to some degree. I know I do. Sometimes I look at the world. What's the name of the book? Oh, The Keeper's Vow. By Francine Simone. I think you can still get ebook copies off of Amazon. I think you can still get physical ones. It's been so long since I've managed any of the print distributions, but it's easy to get the ebooks. And I'll probably serialize them up on Midnight Scholar Society too. I just have, I've been slammed. But you know, I'll get to it. But that's kind of the energy is what I want to get back to with the 8 houses. There's a transformation that happens. You transform. Okay. I do all the time, by the way. Somebody said, when you're able, can you drop more videos on magic and spiritual knowledge? I do all the time. Just follow or just join the Midnight Solar Society. Come and join classes. I mean, that's all I ever do. That's all I'm ever doing. So you'll get plenty of it. But the eighth house, it's transformative. Okay. It is something where, and like I said, I'm pretty sure you've all experienced it. I have in this degree, where you wake up one day and you realize that it's not that the whole world has changed, you have changed. So you see the world differently. Sometimes we think the world is changing around us, that times have progressed. Times haven't progressed, you progressed. That's one of the conundrums, you know what I mean? Like, it's really frustrating. I learn and I learn and I learn and I learn and I have all of this knowledge, and then I look around and I'm like, the whole world has changed. Why is everyone not acting like it? I'm like, come on. And it's like, no, these are all, you have changed. So use your tools. Some of you are you are all highly intelligent. I'm sorry, if you can listen and you can follow me and you can jump through all of the different connections, your brains have built all sorts of circuits and connections. So you have a lot of knowledge, and knowledge is power. You just have to actively choose to use it. And sometimes you get confused on what that means because you've spent most of your lives not using your power for your own intent and purposes, but rather for unconscious ideas and stuff like that. And so when you learn about all of the little bits and pieces of how you can pull it, this is reclamation, the eighth house or Scorpio, how you recall your power back to yourself, right? And the moon represents emotion. So when I at the beginning, I said, what is happening right now? The moon is allowing you to pull your power back into you by receiving who you are. So just be yourself. That's really it. You'll just have to be yourself. If it's like hell, that's because that's where you are. And you just have to breathe and sit and watch and look and observe and witness and label and move accordingly. If you're in hell, if you look up and you're in hell, move accordingly. Moving accordingly doesn't mean you change hell. It means that you change your environment, your situation, your way of thinking, the stuff that led you there. It means you change the way you see things and that you are observing things and you are experiencing things. And you move in and out of spaces much faster. There's nothing wrong with being in hell. It's just when you're stuck there that's a problem, to be totally honest. I enjoy going to hell often. You guys know I made a fire. You know, like I am an Aries. I spend most of my time being an asshole. Like you gotta exist in a certain pit of hell, comfortably to spend most of your time giggling at things that make other people slightly scared. You know what I mean? So and that's why there's no moral aspect to it. It's just a matter of what is it for? What is it not for? And to give you a good example of that, I'm playing video games. Like I play Marvel Rivals. That is inherently violent. I'm spending my time shooting at people, just lining up and aiming, developing strategies to corral people into small paces and pop, 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 pop. That's inherently violent. But it's on a video game where everyone is consenting to play and to have this type of experience because they find it fun. That's a good time in hell, isn't it? All of a sudden we're all on fire, but we're creating a synchronicity. And then have you ever experienced coming together as a group? In fact, if you are the type of person who has ever played video games that are competitive, you know that there's a certain level of passion when everybody is good, when you're all dog-heartedly fighting for it. And even if you lose, it's a good fucking game. You're like, no, I win because that was amazing. And man, this song that's playing in my head, what is it? Because it's hitting really hard. Rules of Nature by Jason Carls Miller. It's like, for all that I've got to follow the laws of the wild with their lives on the line. Out here only on the strong survive. What is done, survive to see another day. The game of life, the hunter and the agile prey. See what I'm saying? Like, even the song knows. Even the song's aware. The song's like, yeah, when it's a thing of consent, right? Like fire can be a beautiful thing, but that's when all of the people agree. As soon as one person doesn't agree to be there, can you imagine forcing someone to be a part of a game where they will have to do violence, take violence done onto them, take the heat of not showing up, take the heat of showing up, all of that stuff, and they didn't want to do it? That is stressful, it's frustrating, and it's going to piss everybody off involved. That's when someone's stuck in hell. It's all about choice. When people know that they have the choice to be wherever they need to be, also, it's all about boundaries. Children don't and should not be allowed in hellish activities unless it's appropriate to the child's age, right? So we know that kids can play competitive games, but you don't generally introduce competitive games to babies, do you? You see how that works? Like, hell isn't necessarily the worst place to be. It's just terrible if you're stuck there. It's also really fucking horrendous if you get stuck in the higher elevations of things, because it means that sometimes when you need to get into your body and feel, you go mad. You go mad. You're stuck in your head. Everyone's enjoying, laughing, and having fun, and you keep intellectualizing everything. Everyone's just really in the moment, feeling things, and you're just like, I don't really understand why everybody's taking things so seriously. It's kind of silly, you know? And it's like, because it's a wedding, and some people are emotionally involved. You know, you ever know those people? I've been that person sometimes, and I have to check in and make sure that I'm tapping into emotional situations, because otherwise I'll walk into it and shit all over the thing. I'll be like, oh, ha ha ha, this, that, and the other, because I'm not emotionally attached. You know, I spend a lot of time in the air energy, so it's just natural for me to be like, oh, before I go off on the rails here, let me make sure that emotionally speaking, it's appropriate. How do you do that? You have to get into your body. And listen, I know how difficult that is. My moon's in Capricorn, meaning that, like, this is about as air, like, Capricorn's like the mountaintop. This is about as close to being on the ground while being in the air you can get. Like, get into your body. And I'm like, okay, I'll step on the tippy toe of the mountaintop and feel, but I don't really want to get down there. You know, swamp water, absolutely the fuck not. I don't want to get down there. Get into the ocean, I'll stand on the cliff, get the mist in my face. Like, that's, you know, that's that's how I was, like, born, you know what I mean? I had to learn how to get into my body and to sit into the uncomfortableness of other people's emotions. And to be totally honest, it's easy to sit when other people are upset or sad, because it's not you dealing with it. You get to be strong. But when other people are sharing emotion of love, of acceptance, of appreciation, of gratitude, it can be difficult to sit in your body while somebody is throwing at you how much you matter to them, because you they are throwing at you the weight, the gravity of you in their life, and you have to hold that, and you realize that that is a fragile thing, right? Oh my God, this is what I mean to you? I can't mess this up. Then you don't want to get into your body, because you don't want to feel all of that, because you have to be smart, right? You have to do the right things. You can't fuck shit up. This is everybody who is here who has ever dealt with perfectionist issues over parentification. Even if your parents didn't force you to be the parent, you had friends who did. This is the I know what I'm worth, right? Whether other people admit that to me, I know, because in some way, shape, or form, they have shown me, and I have to hold this in my hands. That's a lot of power, but you can get yourself trapped in the heaven spaces, right? This is when people put you on a pedestal. That's what it means. You've been trapped into some type of purity space, where you can do no wrong. You can't be caught in hell. There was a huge time period between, like, 2016 and 2020, I want to say. Actually, no, 2016 to about now, maybe the last decade or so, since Uranus was in Taurus. Not gonna fucking lie, y'all. Okay, Uranus and Taurus is the minefield of this, and it's, I know what I'm worth, right? But I also have to be responsible for this, and it's air meets the ground, and it's a mess, and you have values, but how do you? And this is opposite the Scorpionic house, right? Taurus is opposite Scorpio, which means power is opposite what? Desire. So, like, your power is not in your home at the moment. It's across from you. The power dynamic between Venus, which is the ruler of Taurus, and Pluto, which is the ruler of Scorpio, the dynamic between them is like a really star-crossed lover energy. They run towards each other while also running away from each other, because they are pulled into this infinite loop, right? So this is a really complicated place, and then Uranus went in there and shat all over it. You know what I mean? He just, like, tore up everything and was like, what do you mean? This is what you desire. Are you even sure, or are you just stuck in a loop? Are you sure? Do you even care about this, right? And that, either you get stuck in hell or you get stuck in heaven. The people stuck in hell, they all wear red hats. The people who got stuck in heaven, they're all part of cancel culture, and they got stuck hating red hats, right? And everybody who's, like, on the grounding gets grounded. goes outside, touches grass. The rest of us are just like, okay, the fuck. That's the moon in Scorpio, okay? Making all of that very clear. That makes sense. That's the place where all of everything comes to the surface. It gets purified and transformed. And if you happen to be looking or seeing that happen in front of your eyes, you don't have to do anything. Just be yourself. Oh my god, I got some jazz playing in my ears. Lujon. Slow Hot Wind is what it's called. By Henry Mancini. Pat Metheny. Okay, anyways. Oh, the orchestra. Oh, the violins. They just came in so slick. I'm so sorry, guys. I know you can't hear. I don't want to make you jealous. But the point that I'm making is that with like Scorpio and or the moon going through Scorpio, that full moon, all of that stuff, everything I just told you, well, I guess I brought it to the light, right? But it was underneath the surface, and it can make it really difficult to navigate. But right now, with Uranus actually having moved into Gemini, there's a lot of clearing that's going on rather than unearthing. And that just has a lot to do with the fact that Uranus is using all of the air energy that normally gets stagnant in those spaces, and all of the, like, if you notice, the people who generally are a part of the stuck in heaven crowd, they're getting less stuck. But the people who wear the red hats, people stuck in hell, they're just getting hotter. Because when you add air to water, that's Gemini over there in Scorpio, or Uranus in Gemini, swirling around in people's minds and in their mental space, okay? When people are hot and you add spontaneous burst of air, you know, things don't go well. Things just get hotter. You're feeding the fire. And that has nothing to do, that's an inside thing, if that makes sense. Their fire is being fed, but this is like the fire in Scorpio during this moon purifies you. Okay, so whatever they're experiencing, that's creative heat. Whatever they're up to. That's why I say be mindful of where you spend your time and who you're spending your time around, because that can be a lot of heat to rub up against if you aren't aware. Okay? People are just frustrated. And I mean that with all seriousness too. Like, imagine you're stuck in a cult and you don't know that you're stuck in a cult and things aren't going well, but everything that you've been told about things not going well is a lie, so you're completely confused all the time. You don't know that it's a lie. You're just confused all the time about everything. And you have to make justifications nonstop. You're using all of that creative energy to run on a loop faster and faster and faster to get out of the loop. But you don't run on a hamster wheel faster to get out of it unless you've seen them hamsters that do. And then they go whoop, 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 and then they fly the fuck off and hit the wall or some shit. And then they look a little funny for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of what's going on in those spaces. And so when I say, if you're just going to walk all into that cage talking about, hey, are you ready to talk? You might get hit with some of that energy. And I can't say that that person's in the wrong. They're just being themselves. You know, so leave sleep-lying dogs where they are, I would say, definitely during this type of energy, because you will unearth stuff, and people will give you what's yours, and they'll try to give you far more than what's yours, whatever they think should be yours, and then it'll be up to you to sort through all of that, because you've been blasted with it, right? So be mindful of that. Now, on the other end, people who were previously stuck in like purity cages, they can end up going straight to hell if they freak the fuck out. But for the most part, Uranus and Gemini kind of helps alleviate some of that if people are embodying and moving with integrity and stuff like that. So it's kind of just like getting people out of there. Now, just because people make it out of stuck in heaven, stuck in hell, doesn't mean that they immediately go into the neutral zone where they're navigating, right? Because when you're stuck in a loop, regardless of what that loop is, it sucks. The only thing that you can do is either navigate in alignment or be stuck in a loop that's trying to get you into alignment. There's really just those two kind of like states. Is alignment or not alignment. Not alignment looks like being in a loop. Alignment looks like spontaneity meets creativity. You're creative, you throw your creativity, you express outward, and then the world responds some way. That's why I say write down stuff that you are, like when you get a vision and you're like, oh my God, it would be amazing. Like you're on stage and you've got a guitar and you're singing or some shit like that. And right now you have a guitar, but you haven't actually gotten lessons. You don't really know how to play, and your singing's pretty great, but you're terrified of singing in front of other people. Just write down in your journal, like, are you willing to take lessons? Like, what are you willing to commit to it? Like what in your feasible like mind can you creatively think of that could set you on the right path, and can you feasibly take a step towards that? That's all that's being asked of you. And if you write down, I'm going to take guitar lessons and singing lessons this year. All right. So what step can you take to initiate that? So let's say you start looking it up and you call a place and they say, sorry, we're not taking anybody. Or you call another place and then they, you get something, but the person that's teaching is kind of weird. They don't really get what you're trying to do. I don't know. It just feels silly, and now you feel like an imposter. Okay, are you willing to kind of like just, like, what's your goal here? Are you trying to have an experience that reminds you of being on stage, or the feel good every moment? What's your goal? That's when you go back to your goal and you go, well, my purpose is to get better. Okay, well, how can this person help you get better? What have you identified in them that you can use to actually aid yourself? Well, they're really good at playing, really fast, really melodic, this, that, and the other. Okay, watch what they do and study them in that way. You don't have to be best friends with people. They don't need to see your vision. All of this shit doesn't have to be perfect and happy like a slice of life. You just need to know how to isolate and identify what you can stand to gain, and how do you gain that thing. And if it's in alignment with you, great. If it's not, drop it. That's how you navigate those things. Nothing's going to be perfect. Like, for instance, I'm in the MBA program right now. I've had one class so far, and I think I'm almost done. And I've only had one class that's like really, that I look at and I'm like, oh God, like this is a life changer one. Okay, last time I got an undergraduate degree, it was quite some time ago. Same thing. I had one professor, took 3 of his classes simply because he was the only person that I got any actual like knowledge from. Everybody else was kind of stupid. One guy told me to just plagiarize, and that's how you learn how to get better. And I was like, how could you look in the mirror every day and respect yourself? I think the answer was he doesn't, I mean, there's nothing wrong with copying and tracing. It's just that's not academically sound advice, and nor does it show professionalism at the pedagogical level. You get what I'm saying? That's kind of like the advice I might give like 12-year-olds, 16-year-olds who are trying out things to get them writing, not professionals. That's absolutely fucking gnarly insane. So anyways, that's the point. Is like in the whole program, I found one. And my purpose was to be able to like write a book and it be good. And I did. And it was. And then I did another. And then I got better after that. Why? Because I siphoned the tools and the lessons that I needed rather than wanting the whole production to be fit towards me. So that's kind of a lesson that I could especially give you being from the perspective of like my own culture, right? Being Black and Indigenous, nothing is a fit all for me. The one size fits all never fits me. The size that's supposed to fit me never fits me. People are like, we made this for you. And it's never for me. It's always some fucking weird ass projection of somebody's like virtue project, not actually like something meant to function for people. It's something meant to function for somebody's vanity, right? And so like I have always had to move in and out of situations with alignment because there is no other choice for me. Being as a Black Indigenous woman, there is no other choice in survival than to navigate in alignment. I have to be in divine timing or I don't get anything at all. And that is on everyone else's behavior consistently time after time. And there's no spite in that either. I don't hold nothing against nobody. I don't think that there's, like what can people do? Most of them are half dead in the head, and a lot of people are unconscious beyond that. A lot of people have absolutely no idea who they are, so how can they help you navigate in a world if they can't even get past themselves, right? You can either be a victim, a lot of people are, or you can take that understanding and navigate. And that's literally why Black women are successful. Because we literally don't have any other choice. Everybody gets a choice. They can either be a victim, and there's a space for a lot of other people to be acknowledged as victims, but not for Black women, although we get the projection of seeking it the most, which also speaks to why I don't have that choice. because it's one that it's a bias that I'm constantly having to navigate against. And a lot of people get like, and I'll say this too, because this is a very Scorpio thing. My Pluto's in Scorpio, and it's in opposition to a lot of powerful energy in my chart. So I'm always very aware. Like I sit at home in this energy all the time. That's why I say I love Scorpios and stuff like that. Moons and Scorpios. Oh my God. We get along so well because it's like they understand this too. They walk into this world seeing the truth all the time, and then they have to stand and watch people. It's a very disturbing experience when you're young, which is why a lot of Scorpios tend to be traumatized because it's very disturbing in your youth. But I'll explain it like this. Sometimes when you're talking to a person, and you're at present, you're experiencing life, and everything is going as it's supposed to be going and as it should be going, and then you see it. You see the moment that something shifts on them. And it's when someone has gone from being present to being triggered, and now they're dissociated. So the moment they become dissociated, and you feel and you know exactly what caused them to dissociate, it'll usually be a word you said or an idea, or you explained something. So you showed them something about yourself, and because they see it, and they don't know how to respond or to react appropriately, so they go into dissociative mode and start to ruminate. And you can watch the rumination happen. A lot of people think that they are very good at hiding their disassociation, but I always say, no, I don't think people are. I don't, either I'm highly skilled, or people just or a lot of people people have pretended for so long that people's dissociative states aren't happening, that they've convinced themselves or gaslit themselves into unlearning microfacial movements and stuff like that. And I think the latter is more so true, because how many people actually even look at people these days? COVID's made that even worse with younger generations. People are on their phone more often. People are more super conscious about themselves because of how they experience the digital world versus their lived life. People are, and we're talking about the Western world in America because that's where we're based in. But a lot of people here are under surveillance culture, depending on how deeply rooted they are in colonialism or white ideologies and stuff versus outside of it. And then even if you are on the outside of all those things, you have to understand that you're being surveilled. At least I do. I understand that I'm being surveilled by a culture that for some reason has a hard time not surveilling. It's ridiculous. Because it's kind of like watching people play dress up, and they all forgot that they were wearing costumes playing dress up, and that they're on stage, and they're trying to convince you that it's real. And they get angry and frustrated, and after a while it starts to look like mental illness because they're not dropping the act. And funny enough, we see this with Peter Pan in chapter 9 or 8, I think, when they talk about Peter Pan when he's playing with the Lost Boys, that he will force them to play make-believe, to the point where you cannot disagree with Peter. It's scary. You don't get that. They don't really dive in too deep to it, but the kids are terrified of Peter Pan. Because if they don't agree with his whims, and he's very forgetful. So in 1 minute, he says one thing, and the next minute, he may change it altogether, and you need to just be on board with that change. Because it's real. And he's confused why you're confused. It starts to read as mental illness, right? Like, whoa, why are you somebody who's constantly changing narratives and matrices, and you have to just follow along with them? Now, that happens a lot in childhood, but a lot of people don't realize that continues on when people are older, if they don't break those habits and stuff like that. And it's, a way of seeing that in the world is seeing how people deal with being able to read whether people are dissociated or not. It's really obvious when somebody becomes triggered by an insecurity, and then they start ruminating, and then they start projecting onto you based off of that, because they were one way before, and then they've shifted, they did a little dance on their face, or in their body language, and then it becomes apparent in their next styles of communications. Like, people shift all of a sudden, they go from like this to not looking at you at all, not wanting to talk, trying to, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, that's so strange. You can see it all the time. People do it all the time, and then other people make excuses. Oh, you're just reading into things. Maybe nobody can. Ah, yeah, sure. We can say all that, and then wonder why things are weird, I guess. But the point is like Scorpios, they're used to that. But seeing that as a child is kind of terrifying, because you can see how deeply manipulative people are, and how they use power, how they present one thing for a short period of time, and then go and go and connive in other groups and stuff, and how everything is done under the surface. And for a lot of people, they don't see what's happening under the surface. They get surprised and shocked, and a lot of Scorpios end up as Cassandras, right? So this and this is happening. Don't you see it? Can't you see what they're doing and what they're trying to say? And then people go, what are you talking about? You're the problem. They boot them out. They usually have this kind of experience in young adolescence. A lot of other people have this experience in older adolescents, like teen years, right? Scorpios will have it when they're like 4 or 5. It's fucked up. They'll have it early when somebody pulls the rug from underneath them, and that trust is broken and betrayal is had. It's the first experience of death, because that's the death of a relationship and the death of innocence. So oftentimes Scorpios are initiated into spiritual ways of understanding, or understanding power dynamics, a lot sooner than other people. And then it becomes intimidating when people meet them later on in life, because they're so skilled and agile at it. But that doesn't mean that they're using those tools against you. It just means that they have the tools, and that means that those are the tools that are available. Yeah, people do not like looking in mirrors. It really is that deep. People do not like it. Someone said, my ex was a triple Scorpio. I will not ever be the same. I bet. It's rough, right? Because it does, there's a lot of paranoia that comes in too. Because if someone is seeing things that you can't see, then you're like, no, it can't be me. It has to be you. And you're just making it all up, and this, that, and then eventually it hits you, and you're like, oh, this is what they were talking about. Oh my God. I just happen to have a lot of Aries energy, so it's easy for me to like navigate Scorpio energy too, and a lot of other Aries will find that simply with especially with all the energy that's in Aries right now. Simply because there's Aries, Mars, right? And Aries is quick, temperamental, capricious, sure, but quick to change, quick to shift. Okay, and then in Scorpio, that's necessary, because the energy is heavy. So a Mars energy can navigate it easily because it's quick. So we don't get bogged down by the emotions the way that other people do. Other people look in the mirror, not like what they see, and get bogged down. Aries, Mars, and Aries and that kind of energy is more like, look in the mirror, didn't like what I see, so I quickly changed it and called it a day. Because I'm not going to just cry over a stain on my shirt when I can just change my shirt. Or go without the shirt. And then it's like, that's too much, Mars. It's too much. And it's like, okay, fine. We'll just change the shirt. That's fine. Let's go. And what will other people think? Fuck other people. Why do we care about them? That's some Venus in 7th house shit. That's like, that's the energy of Mars. So when Scorpio stuff comes around, it's heavy and it's this and that. It's very quick, because that's also Mars is exalted in Scorpio for that reason. So, oh, you think you have a Scorpio stellium? Yeah, Scorpio's great energy. It can just be extremely, extremely overwhelming to experience as a young child, because a lot of people have no idea. A lot of people are very blind to that veil that Scorpios see, and then the language around it becomes very superstitious. Like, I remember growing up, I used to think like spirituality must have been this crazy mystical thing that no one could ever explain, or this, that, or the other. Meanwhile, it was all the normal mundane experiences I was having. I just didn't realize that other people were so far from recognizing those experiences in the everyday and applying them, that the language around it had become so lofty and so, strange. Anyways, that's kind of what happens when we get there. But the moon in Scorpio, just kind of wrap it all back around, is doing all that. It's bringing up any type of power that you have and asking whether you want to reclaim it or not. The only way to reclaim it is to sit and receive that it is you. Sit in it. If you get a win, sit in it. Okay, I had a day. What happened that day? Oh, it should have been a shitty day. There's a lot of terrible things happening, but all the terrible things were great things. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like there was an inconvenience, but like the inconvenience was to usher in something very great and beneficial. Abundance. It's like somebody closes off the road and it forces me to go down a detour, and that detour, you get a lottery ticket and you win. And you're like, whoa, if not for the detour. And the detour really doesn't matter. Like, it's not even real. You know what I mean? You weren't late. Nothing bad happened. Everything was fine. So it's kind of like that. If you're able to really just sit and receive, just allow, right? And just to be open to what's going on around you, right? And if what's going on around you is a bunch of negative stuff, that's just acknowledge that the only thing your attention is on right now is negative stuff. So how can you fertilize your attention, the space in your attention, for positive stuff? Guys, this is the reason why I read so vastly in so many different things, because I'm fertilizing my brain. I'm putting different thoughts and ideas in my brain so that as my normal life happens, right, as I Francina, move throughout the world, and I interact with the spontaneity all around me, life that is all around me, it's coming through those lenses that I've previously applied. If the only lenses that I've applied is everybody crying about every fucking problem that they've ever had with no fucking utter solution, I don't mind if somebody comes to me to tell me about the fucked up issue that they had. Testimony. This is the fucked up shit that happened, and this is what we're doing, and this is what I've done because of it. Then it's like, wow, I find that inspirational because I can actually learn their tools. I'm learning something. But if somebody if there's this terrible thing is happening, this is bad, okay, great, you're informed, but what do you have in your nervous system? And I'm not talking about shit that makes you laugh and giggle, like go and watch Friends. Is that nourishing? Didn't you already see it once? Like, do them bitches really got that much to say that makes it, like, that nourishes you? I mean, like, it could be, but the question is, it's the question that's important, is what are you nourishing yourself with? For me, especially during really incredibly rough political times, you should be reading history because it helps you contain, and it gives you a container so that you can synthesize all that information. You guys, that's why I was reading Peter Pan, and I pick up Uncle Tom's Cabin on accident, to be totally honest. It was just a book that I was supposed to read because I'm like, listen, I'm tired. I've been reading a lot for different things here, there, and the other, but I need to give my brain a break, you know? So I was like, let me read something for fun, something that my one restriction is no highlighting, no looking up information if I have questions, just reading, okay? So I was like, it's got to be fiction. I can't do that with nonfiction. That'll drive me fucking crazy, bonkers. Like, eventually I could do that with nonfiction, but, like, no researching? So fiction it is, right? So I just happened to look on my shelf, and I was like, oh, there's Uncle Tom's Cabin, and, for religious reasons, I'm just kidding. Because I'm black, technically, you never engaged with the text, because the text is very much from a sentimentalist, like, white woman, so it's not exactly helpful text. All it really did was kind of keep everyone stuck in a loop. It placates the emotions of oppressors. It does not actually reveal. It's a soft thing. Anyways. So I was picking that up, and I'm reading the introduction to it, and all of a sudden, right, I realized, I didn't know Harriet Beecher Stowe was Calvinist. Guess who else is Calvinist? Our Lord and Savior, James Barrie over here being a crazy. No, that was a joke. But James Barrie was Calvinist. I've mentioned that many times. So of course I read the introduction now, just as like learning about Calvinism in the 1850s right here in America, and how this book impacted the British and all that kind of stuff. And that led me into realizing that James Barrie would have read this book. And even if he didn't read it, the cult, his religious proximity, so everything that he's in proximity to in his religious life has read this book. They talk about it. It had more sales than Dickens in the area, and considering James Barrie is in the literary sphere himself, obviously he knows of the book. He's come in contact with the book. The book is also representative from his religious sect. So what does that say about his positioning in Peter Pan, right? Which led me to realize that the Darlings are Anglican, so maybe James Barrie. You know how I keep saying I've got two like thoughts patterns on Peter Pan over here. I'm like, either this guy's really on the mark about something, or he's really fucked up. I can't tell yet. I'm starting to lean on the fact that this is really a hit piece. I think it's a hit piece on England. I don't know exactly, but I've got some evidence so far that suggests he was not a fan of imperialism, and a lot of people didn't like him because they didn't really understand what he was pointing at. But then also at the same time, a lot of odd things have happened around him. So, we're still keeping the verdict open, right? But we're getting closer to it. But I make all that point. Why did I make all that point? I was talking about something before. I made all that point to say I was in a receptive mode. Okay, I was resting. I even put limitations that say I'm going to do something, but I'm going to make it really hard for this to ever turn into work. Even though it aided my work, even though it flew into work in some way, shape, or form, because I was resting, I received. Oh, guys, why would I pick up Uncle Tom's Cabin? To be totally fucking honest, the reason why I bought that book was for research purposes and a totally different reason. But the reason why I picked it up in that moment was because I said, I choose to receive right now. And I just want to rest. And for some reason it came up. That's not the first thing that comes to my mind. No, I don't read Uncle Tom's Cabin for fun. That's not what I consider fun times. I play Marvel Rivals and read comics. Not like DC comics. I like graphic novels. You know, like I consider that a fun time. I like to play with art and watch anime and shit like that. Not read Uncle Tom's Cabin. But like, because I was in a receptive mode, that came up and then it boom, right? But like the part that I'm really getting at when I talk about fertilizing the field, I have not watched Chainsaw Man, although my partner has. He really liked it. I saw some of it and I was like, it wasn't for me. But the Uncle Tom's Cabin, just picking up the introduction, it was written in 1981, okay, by Anne Douglas. This is her conversation about like looking back at history. She's a very studied professor and she's looking at this work. She's seeing the aftermath of everything and she's reporting to us about Calvinism, about what was going on during that time period and where Stowe stood in it and how she impacted everything. It's like somebody who's got a telescope and they're looking down on stuff and she's giving me all the deets. And why is she doing this? Because they know that I've been reading Peter Pan and I have questions about James Barrie. And here's the best way to resolve the spiritual one so that I can position him correctly. Do you see how that happened? I didn't ask for all of that. I just was sitting and I'm just open to keeping my brain nourished with history and learning things and seeing things, and it's making connections that I wouldn't have even thought of myself. There's no way you can plan shit like that out. That's divinity. That's divinity. That's what I keep explaining. It's divinity. You just have to be open to receiving. And what does that look like? Actually taking a fucking rest. I mean, guys, everything I ever do is kind of work in some way, shape, or form, but I spend like a great majority of my life in a resting state. You know what I'm saying? Like a good majority of my time, I don't usually get out of bed until like 10:30. And that's only because I have to be out by 11. Man, on days that I don't know, sometimes, and then like, oh man, I've been burnt out lately because I've been at school, like I've been doing the program, you know, and shit like that, and I'm like, I got 2 classes going at once, I can barely keep my fucking eyes open. Oh, why? Because like 2 days out of the week I spend time doing schoolwork, and that seems like a lot to me. Why? Because my brain, I spend so much time reading and all of this that I need a lot of rest. And the rest is when your brain's doing all of the work. You should only be doing, I shouldn't say should, but like realistically, work takes it takes very little time. When you can reduce your cognitive load by simply resting more, your brain becomes more skilled at doing things. So you naturally compress the amount of cognitive load that you have. Okay? Whenever you're doing that, you're constantly compressing cognitive load. You do things faster, but you do things at a more complicated way. So for instance, think about an artist who learns how to draw. If you learn how to draw and you go from not knowing anything, how long do you think it's going to take you to sketch a self-portrait, right? How long do you think it's going to take? It's going to take a little while. Okay? And I mean like for it to look nice and presentable. Don't just give me anything. Now, spend 5 years working on sketching. 6 months, 5 years, just spend 6 months dedicating time and energy into doing it in a way that is devotional. So that means you're probably sketching, if not once a week, probably more often than that, because occasionally you get these really big spurts and then you rest a lot and you get another spurts and you do it, right? But you're dedicated to it. So your spurts, sometimes you do 2-3 sessions. Sometimes you spend a whole week obsessed with something. Sometimes you only do it once a week. Sometimes you can only do like 30 minutes once a week. And you're like, man, well, at least I drew that, right? For 6 months. And then I asked you to do a self-portrait. Do you think it's going to take you as long as it did to make your ugly fucking first portrait as it does to do your 6-month one where you've gained skills? You've gained skills. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that. When you surround yourself and consume things that bring you joy, you really don't have to worry about anything, because you will always be at the right place at the right time. You just have to be rested enough that you have the energy and the capacity to recognize that. And so that's a huge part of like everything that we are always talking about, right? So yeah, that's me. That's the moon in Scorpio. That's the Peter Pan update. I kind of threw that in it a bit for you guys. And I think that was it that I had to say. Updates around Midnight Scholars. So I'm still working on getting chapters up of Metal and Magic. Give me after the week. I'm going to be finishing up 2 classes. And I'll have a lot more mental free time to kind of sit down and edit and stuff like that. Also rest. Rest, people. There's so much cool shit happening in the air right now, and as much as I want to say the stuff that I get downloads on, sometimes it's hard because everything's still a lot in flux. Things are a lot more stable and solid than they have been, obviously, but there's a lot that isn't up to me to disclose, if that makes sense. It's like it's up to a lot of people to experience the world instead of constantly trying to get information about what it's like. You've got to go out and experience it and then join conversations about what it is like for you, rather than questioning what is it like, what will it be like, so that people, that's what it is. If you guys have probably noticed that I've really pulled back an awful lot on like channeled messages and stuff like that, and to give people the chance to go try that shit out. You got to go live. You got to go apply these things. You have to come up with your own testimonies. Like, I've been working on a proposal that kind of, bridges a gap in community, and it's this place, it's initiation, where people learn to actually apply the tools and the skills that they learn, and then have something to show for it, and have the support necessary to do that. But the part of support is giving people the time and the space to work on things, so just in case anybody's wondering, because you make content or you do stuff that's similar, understand that if you make content, understand your audience and understand yourself. Sometimes it can be very helpful to make similar content or the same thing, because you identify with a niche and you enjoy that, and that's easy for you. And for some people, they feel like they're too multifaceted to stick to one thing. Don't stick to the one thing. Do multiple things. Sometimes other areas need time to breathe. Certain audiences need time to breathe before they're ready for the next bit of information. And I kind of feel like that when it comes to things in terms of disclosure. I keep using that term, which is killing me because I never use that term. So, man, maybe I need to, let me get on my Robin Hood. I've been doing commodity trading. Oh my God. I'm in Robin Hood. I like to have fun. You guys know I'm an Aries, so like gambling is a thing that I also enjoy, but I like to do that because I'm in Mars and Gemini. So I do everything very low risk. I just like the fun thought of throwing $1 at something and seeing what happens, and to see if I was right on a whim, because if I was right about that, it means I'm right about other big things. So anyway, so I gotta trade in about disclosure happens before 2027, and it's like, maybe it really does, because I keep mentioning it over and over again and trying to explain to people what disclosure is. And if you're listening to channels that bring up fear and all that kind of stuff, you'll probably have a weird time with it. But everybody will be fine eventually. That's kind of the one thing I can say. Everybody gets to the place that they need to be eventually. But how they get there does matter. And I think it's important that people get there in a way that uplifts and helps them. But not everybody is always on that path. And it's good to let everybody take the path that they're on, Okay. I am getting our FAQ open and started, so I can jump into that. Everybody on TikTok, there you go. I have the FAQ PDF open. Oh, I should probably link it in here too, right? I forgot to do that, y'all. I'm so sorry. Let me go into the collections and put it in the chat really quick. FAQ. Okay. Tools for Conscious Living. Okay, everybody on Zoom. I'm going to put this in the chat for you so that you can access this, the PDF on here, in case you don't have it. And while everybody kind of gets that open, I'm going to have it on here too. You don't need to open it on your own. I'll share my screen in a second. I'm just going to look through the comments. Okay, so, oh, that little sister is so cute and sweet. I would write on that high for months. I don't remember which one we were talking about. Okay, funny you talked about physics. I've stressed out about studying for a physics class, but just realized nature would never have me stressing out this much. Yeah, nature wouldn't. Also, physics. I found physics. I took a physics class. I only took it for I only went 2 times, and then I dropped it. The woman that was teaching it, something about her voice was stressing me the fuck out. She was stressed. But her energy felt almost... like ill. I think she did have a chronic illness, but so sometimes, and this is rough, I don't diagnose people and shit like that. I just move accordingly based on how other people's energy is thrown at me. And she was a woman in the STEM field, which means that she probably underwent an awful lot of stress being there, like an awful lot of stress being there, to the point where it was making her physically ill. And COVID had just happened, so that was probably adding on top of that. When someone is in that much stress and that much pain, and they aren't able to resolve the situation because they don't know what it is or how to like navigate, so like how to move into alignment rather than being stuck in hell, right? And put off like a certain frequency. And I remember I almost got a headache sitting in the class. Actually, there was a calculus teacher too that was like that. And no, she was teaching chemistry. That's what it was. No, calculus, chemistry. No, the calculus lady was just really shrill. But somebody else was teaching chemistry, and oh man, but she was actually mean. She had asked the class, she was like, she had pulled out like a math formula or something like that, and she had asked the kids in class, she was like, do you not know how to do this either? I know you guys don't know how to turn in your homework and stuff. And this was the first day, like, you know what I mean? So she wasn't really talking to the students that she was talking to. She was talking to, like, past students that she's had experiences with. She was just projecting it onto the current class. And I was like, oh my God, why is she talking to these kids like this? And I know she ain't talking to me like And I was like, man, these women, they are under a lot of fucking stress. But when you're under stress like that, you do, and you're unaware, or you're aware, but you haven't, like, you're not doing anything about it, you do cause harm to people around you. And that harm is obvious and noticeable, and it's more noticeable than the men who are causing the stress. The men who are causing the stress appear to be, usually in STEM spaces, pretty quiet and docile. So you have somebody quiet and docile, and then, like, on the opposite side, the women who are being stressed out by what's actually going on behind the scenes, and they're, like, very much, like, in your face, loud with their energy, and either the tone or the expressions and stuff like that. And then it looks like the woman's a problem, and it's like, well, is the man a problem? And it's like, no, the whole fucking situation's a problem, because neither of them are the student. The student's supposed to be learning, and yeah, I was like, there's no fucking way I'm going to learn physics, like, in any kind of way, and have any kind of conversations that I want to have, because I had a very specific reason for being there. I wasn't just like learning physics as a student. I was there for research purposes and stuff. And so it's like, there's no way to really have a functioning relationship where I'm able to, like, passively intake information and then dig in deeper pits that are, necessary for me, if somebody is unable to teach because they're in this much pain. Yeah. So physics in general, and I'll put it this way, women tend to be better facilitators of information than men overall as far as teaching goes, because of a lot of conditioning. And so the men who were teaching these topics sometimes were outdated and or, not attentive. They were vacant from their positions. So some of these women were the best options, and they were shrill. And so, like, when I'm telling you, in STEM subjects, everybody who is in that subject is in pain in some way. Some are just super repressed about it, and some are like dying from the inside out because of all that repression. That's probably what pushes most people away from science than anything. It's the fact that it's not a healthy learning environment. Get what I'm saying? And like women don't dodge bullets just because they are more emotionally intelligent. They actually become victims faster because they're aware. So yeah, nature would not have you stressed out that much. That's why I love braiding sweetgrass. I feel like Robin Kimmerer heals an awful lot. She's like, we're not doing STEM in the colonial way. We're gonna do it the indigenous way, and it's like very soothing and very like, and also super dense. But you get so much as a theory. You know what I mean? I can only imagine if I was taking one of her biology classes, how that would go. Amazing. Okay, I've seen the moon move from the center of the sky to damn near setting in an hour before. Yeah, I'd be feeling so played with. No, for real. Death, like, the moon does move really fucking fast, y'all. I'm not gonna fucking lie. The sky is moving. Like, when you pay attention to the sky, shit moves fast. I'm always disgusted. Like, sometimes it moves faster than it's supposed to, too. Yeah, I get that. Get a little bit. So I like how to know when to move, though. I feel like I've done all the observation and digging, and that's been crazy enough, but there's still more. Yeah, so we'll probably end up talking about knowing when to move tonight, because I'm gonna do as I do some of these, people usually are asking about taking action. How? Come on, why can't I put in two? Are we doing this? What do you mean? What do you mean? What is that? What is that? Why can't I? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm having a conniption. Okay. Let me get my thing going. Let me see. Oh, I'm done. Oh, okay. I think... What is happening? Please stop doing this. Oh my goodness. Okay. Next. Thank you. Okay, I think we've done this one. I think we did this one. But yeah, we're gonna probably talk about... Okay, yeah, we did this one. Taking action. Okay, actually, we did this one previously. I experienced a strong sense that my inner world is already built, while my external world feels delayed, fragmented, or structurally behind. Let me see. I'm going to link you to it. Ooh, okay, so that was that one. Let me see how many we did since then, because before I start clicking. Okay, I think that might have been the last one we did. Let me see, kangaroo. Otter kangaroo. No, this is my second time engaging. Okay, so this wasn't the one that we did? Oh, dragonfly. There we go. Here we go. Okay, it's just... Let me see. I feel like I'm on loop. Yes. Maybe that was the second part of what they wrote. No, this was the one who was starting law school. And we covered that one. Where is it? Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you really quick, because I can't find it. Otherwise, I was going to link it to you. Let me double check. This one isn't about boundaries. Ugh, and shame on me. Sometimes I put the question in the post. And sometimes I forget, and I've forgotten the two before that. So I'll just tell you this when it comes to taking action. So let me go ahead and share the PDF so you guys can see it and we can get started. This one, share. Okay. And I think this is the same one that everybody on TikTok is looking at too, correct? Yes. Good. Okay. Okay, so when it comes to taking action, let's do that really quick. So the operational domain is action. When we say, I feel like I've built stuff, I feel like, I've done a lot of work, right? And I'm still just waiting for things. I feel like I'm still waiting. As soon as you say words like waiting, 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 this is what we call, so I like to call that signature urgency. But you also want to look at avoidance. If you feel stuck, right? Avoidance is there. And if you feel like it's time to move on, urgency is there. So time and action tend to go hand in hand. Okay. Time and action. So if you feel like you've already built stuff and you feel the need to move forward, that's more urgency, your timing issue. And timing is an issue going between masculine and feminine energy. Generally, if you feel urgency, go inward. So I know it sucks because you just said, I feel like I've been doing this for so long. Let me see. Where was it? How to know when or how to move, though. I feel like I've done all the observation and digging. So I feel like I've done this. Okay. So the next time you feel that way is a signal that there's more stuff to go through, but you're avoiding going through it and focusing on the fact that you've already gone through stuff and you want to move on. Does that make sense? So I want you to think in terms of you're sitting in your room and you're getting ready and you're like, okay, so I'm going to go out. I'm going to go have dinner with people. And maybe the people that you're going to have dinner with, it's not like you're excited. In other words, okay, you're not really excited to go. It's just like a usual thing. This is a mundane thing that you do. You go to a dinner on Fridays and you guys have these conversations about this. Like, think of it more like work than like play. Okay, that's what's happening right now. You're doing something that feels more like work. Okay, it's kind of mundane, like you're on a committee or something. And you're getting ready, and then a knock on your door, and you go, oh my God, I've answered the door already. I've answered doors already. It's time for me to move on. And you just get your purse and you pack your AirPods and you put your mouse in your purse and you put your stuff in your purse and then you open the door to go out and you get hit with something and it feels like it's out of the blue and then you have to go through this stuff and it disrupted your life and you were headed out to a committee meeting that you didn't even really want to go to and this thing came up and now you feel wild and you're sitting at the meeting disassociated. And someone goes, hey, yeah. And you're like, oh, my God, do I seem like something's wrong with me? Because they're treating me kind of weird. No one's treating you weird. You feel weird because you're literally supposed to be unpacking stuff. Like this was a meeting that you probably would have called out on. Or you would have unpacked stuff when you heard the door knock. And you would have had what you needed to be able to kind of be present in that moment. Scorpios also rules over the sense of presence. So if a presence has come towards you, that's meant for you to unpack. So I want you all to think of the Cave of Wonders opening up and that knock on the door is death. Oh, and I just got a bass hit on this. What is this song? Don't tell me it's this. No, it's the song that I love, Still Forever. This is the one that has that bass drop that I'm always telling you guys about it. Oh, man, I'm going to send you guys this song. Okay, can I move this? Like, the fuck? See what I mean? Fucking hate Windows computers. Like, come on, guys. Why is this so fucking difficult to navigate this? Oh, there we go. I just want to send the song. Okay, copy. There we go. Yeah, I got it. Where's the chat? Here we go. Okay, it's called Still Forever. Anyways, bass drop hit there. I don't know. It might work for somebody. I don't know why. I just felt this strong urge to make sure that the song has been delivered outwards. But that's what it is. When you knock on the door, that's death. Death has come. And you know what it's like when you avoid death? You think that you're doing the thing you're supposed to do. You think you're doing the living you're supposed to do. You think that you got to do. Death says it's time to rest so that the transformation can happen and you can step into your new life. But unfortunately, when we answer the call to death, it feels an awful lot like going through stuff because you have to go through the sands of time. For me, every time that it comes up, right, I love when death comes knocking. I just run into his arms immediately because it means he's got gifts. Guys, it's the Cave of Wonders. Every time you go into it, you come out with gifts. You got to think of it as it that way. You guys got to get excited to go rest. And I want you to understand it on a neurotypical level, or not neurotypical, but a neuroscience level. Okay? When you rest, your brain does what? Makes all the connections, and then you wake up and all of a sudden you're smarter, right? You're ever trying to make a decision and you're tired and everything you keep coming up with is stupid and terrible and bad, but then the moment you go to sleep and you wake up, it's like the answer was obvious. Yeah, the answer was obvious. You were just kind of stupid because you were asphyxiated. You needed to rest so that your brain could like go in and do stuff. I turned off the thing on TikTok, y'all, so I could see the chat for a minute. I like to think of it as harmonic convergence. It is. So the thing is, though, is like you have to understand that rest is necessary. When you take rest, so that feeling, like, and you'll get to know what that feeling is, or what the sound is like, how you experience the presence that comes into your life, and it's like death that's telling you to come rest. That you're doing something, whatever you're doing, you're putting your attention on your external world and you're acting like a machine. We need you to come rest so that you can rebirth into the world in some other shape, way, or form. And so every time, remember, it's death. Every time you go to rest and you rebirth, you're rebirthing into a new timeline. You died and you came back. But the problem is that people don't understand what that means oftentimes, so we get really confused about what that means, right? But I mean it. You die and you regenerate. Your energy is now who you were plus what has occurred or compounded over your rest period. And then when you are done upgrading because you rested, even a tiny revelation can make all the difference. A little butterfly flutter, and the spectrum of time makes huge changes, right? The butterfly effect. So even the tiniest of a realization, when you can integrate that, and integration requires that you rest so that the brain can do what's necessary to integrate. Otherwise, your body is spending too much time keeping you alive and focusing on whatever your attention is. I want you all to think of it as your brain is like, in Iron Man, is his name, what's his name in Iron Man? The computer, Jarvis. Okay? It's like an AI. I want you to imagine that your brain is Jarvis. It is an AI. If you were chatting with it in one chat box, it cannot do anything in another chat box. But if you open up two chat boxes at the same time, you're going to be using twice the amount of energy than if you were just using one chat box. If you open up three chat boxes at the same time and you go back and forth between those three different chat boxes doing three different projects, you're going to get confused and lost in whatever sauce you're working on. And those three different chat boxes cannot cross communicate because they're currently open. You have to close them out. It has to take all that information, put it into the profile of what it knows about you, and then the new chat box that you open, it will come to you knowing about all three of those other ones. But this is a new chat box. It's not the same one as the other three. It knows things based on what you were doing, but it has rested. It went back to the mother, and then it came back to talk to you. Thank you. It came back to talk to you, and knowing all of the past stuff, but it's not the same agents you were talking to previously. It's a new agent. It's just updated with more information on you. That's your brain. Your brain gets updated with more information on you, but if it doesn't have the time to rest, if it's busy being in three different conversations, running open tabs and doing this and doing that. You ever go do the dishes and your brain's running on something else? You're thinking about something else. You ever ruminate and then by the end of the day you're tired, frustrated, you don't have the creative energy to do stuff because you were thinking about the problems and arguing with people in your head and stuff like that? Your brain does a lot of shit in the background. It's legitimately running our entire reality for you. So the only time that you rest it, and you can rest it by totally closing your eyes and doing nothing, right? All that loud shit's still going to be swirling around, but in meditation, we're asking you to just let the wild shit swirl around. Please just let it swirl. You don't need to quiet it. You don't need to do anything. But the Buddhists and the monks and shit, they ask you to quiet it because if you don't, you become reactive. You start participating in it. What we mean is just let that shit run. This is what you asked for. Heavy is the crown. Didn't you want to be alive? Didn't you want to be alive and be a human being and be able to navigate in a multi-experience, right? Well, you can do that, but fuck, it's overwhelming. Please, please, Relax. This is Arcane. This is what you asked for. Heavy is the crown. It's crazy. I love this song, though. I loved Arcane. Oh, man. Season 2 is great. But anyways, but the point is, right, is that you guys have, like, you have to understand that there is an aspect there that, like, without rest, you do turn into a crazy person who thinks that you are functioning, but you're not. You're not. You're functioning on whatever brain cells are still alive because the other ones are slowly going to sleep. And then people go, I'm getting burned out. That's like me. You guys have no idea how much I am resting right now. It drives me crazy. But as I'm like, you know, I'm doing business law and it's like 7 weeks, which is like a hell of a lot of shit crammed into 7 weeks. You guys know I don't do anything half-ass. I actually do have to read and learn and I care about shit. So I put my energy into it. But that means that my brain, like I've got economics going on, law going on. We've got Peter Pan and history and the culture of like the 1850s up to the early 1900s to World War II. There's a lot of history going on there. I've been reading shit about Cleopatra for some fucking reason. I've got Marcus Aurelius barking at me every 5 minutes. I'm just kidding. He never barks at me. He's a great fella. I felt the need to say that I can't talk shit on him for some reason, and that drives me crazy because y'all know how I feel about strange white men that pop up in my head unannounced without me knowing like what they're doing there. You know, we're still on book 6. He still has 6 books to disappoint me, so I reserve the right to change my mind. But I want to really point out and to really make evident here, and let me turn this back on, is that when it comes to timing, okay, and timing literacy, a huge, like what I just explained to you is the crux of everything. You need to know when to rest, and that resting doesn't always mean go to sleep. That means that you shut down and you detach from the programs that you were running, okay? This might be our FAQ today instead of the other one because it's such a good message. Let's really dive deep into it. I'm going to like go really in depth because this is something that I struggled with. So I just want to make sure that everybody has like a really firm grip because it's really important that you know how to like get in alignment and get out of like sticky situations. So let's start here at the top. Okay, I'm going to go through this worksheet as a refresher for everybody. But what's going on here is when you are in alignment, right? So this is about alignment. Alignment is flow state. So when you're in flow state and something breaks down and you go out of alignment, you get a few different types of patterns that happen or a few different types of symptoms that come up, right? So the question here is, where does the flow break? We always want to identify the break in flow. We don't really care about the symptoms so much. We care about the root issue. So the symptom helps us diagnose the root issue, but don't get caught up in symptoms. Always look for the root because a symptom is going to be full of emotion, full of stories. Okay, a symptom is something like you overdrew on your bank account and like you really couldn't afford that. You guys know LinkedIn charged me $400 for a whole year on their thing. I was like, are you guys insane? I only borrowed it for a second because I needed to get in contact with somebody and I didn't have her number or her email and I just happened to find her LinkedIn and I was like, hey boo, but I need to send a message. So I was like, let me hit this premium for a minute. And I just hit the month. I know that was my face too. I looked at it and I was like, LinkedIn, I know you're not serious because you and I both know I ain't signed up for no motherfucking year. Get out of here. Anyways, it was $404. I was like, LinkedIn, who is paying you for this? It's okay though because they have a 7-day, as long as you don't use the features and it's within 7 days, they will refund you. And I was like, that's good, because otherwise you're gonna have to fight. But what I mean is like, you know, when something like that hits you and it's shocking, y'all. I saw that I was in the middle of playing a video game and in between dying, I was like, chat, talk to me, bitch, because what do you mean $400? I don't mind. I'm the type of person like if I get hit with like, ooh, I had to pay $1,000 or something, and I can feasibly like say that this is an investment. Okay, but this ain't no motherfucking investment, bitch. This was just for a quick phone number, so I hit my girl up. Like, what is that? Fixed it. But we all know that initial, the C's, I have been robbed. They came into my home and they took my money. What? Somebody called 911? I was seized. Okay, I have not changed very much since being a child. Anytime I get hit with an unsuspected charge, you know what I mean? Already enough. I'd be buying shit. I don't need something unexpected. Oh my goodness. We've all been hit with that, right? That's a symptom. That's a symptom. It's not a root cause. It's not a root cause. The root cause is why would I react so feverishly, right? So there's many different ways to react in this moment. There are some ways, and I will say, listen, I have in my past, man, especially when I was in college, oh my God, we would rob Paul to pay Peter every goddamn day, bruh. I don't know, sometimes the utilities would be like, bitch, it's been a month or two, and I'd be like, I just need you to hold on. Baby, I just need you to hold on because this iPhone needs to be paid. You don't understand. She needs her phone, okay? The water bill can wait. Don't cut it off. Don't cut it off. Be human. Don't cut it. And then it's like, okay, I got a little extra money. You know what I mean? Being in college and living in an apartment is crazy times. Crazy times, working part-time. You know what I mean? I remember Wendy's used to have this 4 for $4, y'all. I don't know. I got hooked. They had crack in that shit. I ate 4 for $4s for a month straight and gained 20 pounds, and I knew that there was a problem. I was playing Red Dead Redemption, Dead Dawn Redemption, whatever the fuck the cowboy video game is where you go around pew-pewing and shit like that. I was playing that game. I was really fixed on it for a little while. And I just remember, I think my husband was playing it at the time or something like that. And I was like, he's like, why do you look so sad? Do you want it to play or something? I was like, no. I was like, I think I need a 4 for $4. And I was crying. I was like, I don't know. I just feel terrible. And maybe I just need it. And I looked at him and then we both busted out laughing. And I was like, no, this is an addiction. What the fuck is this? It was like I woke up from a dream. I was dying laughing. Oh my God. And I was like, I literally gained like 20 pounds. I don't know what the fuck was in those 4 for $4s or what was going on. But that was called being broke in college. You know what I'm saying? You do anything, you eat anything. And, you know, life is stressful. You got classes and I was a millennial. Okay. This was the advent of the times. I worked at Radio Shack. Times were hard. So back in the day, if I got hit with something like that, I used to I would be blubbering, crying. Your girl can never get out of the dust like this. You know what I'm saying? I'd be up in shambles, only to like it all to work out. But that didn't stop me from falling into shambles. And then as I got older, right, somebody said, oh my God, being at college these days has been crazy. I had to swear off DoorDash. Y'all, I got to swear off DoorDash. This is crazy. This is wild. Okay, I got a little kick on it. And come 2020, I was like, hey, listen. I like me this little DoorDash thing. But, oh, she's dangerous, especially with inflation. I don't know what's with all these fucking stores and restaurants thinking that they can charge 3 times the price and give you half the fucking materials. I want to cuss so many motherfucking people out all the time. And then it's like, who am I going to cuss out? I'm the one trying to shop here. Let me go to the grocery store. Then I go to the grocery store and everybody's angry or a DoorDasher. Everything's so fucked up. But it'll work itself out. I have hope and all that. Got to start going back to the co-op or something where only old people shop. They're so detached from things, but they're about to get shaken up too. There's nowhere to run. Okay, anyways, the point is that we get a break in the flow. The flow is a symptom. There's many different ways that I could have responded to the LinkedIn thing. I didn't cry. I did get a little seized, right? And then I quickly troubleshooted and saw that, okay, 7 days, I did my return, and then I let it go. And I moved on with my life. Past me would have been fucking out for days, okay? Even if I get the 7 day, even if everything turns out well, in my mind, young me would have been like, oh my God, you've almost ruined it for us. If not for the return policy, you would have ruined everything for us. Because you don't read the fine print. You made the mistake. It was you. I would have been all like that. I'd have been crying. Oh, no, I'm an adult now. I can't afford to make mistakes like this. That's reactive. That's paying attention to the symptom rather than the root. So what is the root issue there? The root has absolutely nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just all emotions and reactions. The root has to say, when something unexpected happens to you, are you still able to maintain consciousness or do you lose it? That's the root. Are you conscious enough to investigate, or are you unconscious? That's really the root. We're always looking for the root, and the root is consciousness. Do you have consciousness so that you can navigate whatever is happening? Because if you're unconscious, $400 stuck there, $400. Somebody calls you, you have no idea what happened to me. $400. If you're stuck there, right? You were unconscious. You were no longer with us. You were stuck on a loop. You know what I mean? But if you're conscious and you're like, $400, that shit's crazy. LinkedIn, you got me fucked up. All right. How you going with your life? How much time did this take? And how much time did take? Because still has yet to resolve the problem. Right? And that time, this is the time that is taken from you. This is the time that, and when we talk about timing, and we talk about the flow break here, right? So timing, urgency. You have to act reactive. I need to act. That's the time issue, is we're stuck on a time loop, reacting out of unconsciousness. And so guess what keeps signaling to you? Urgent. You're stuck on a time loop. Urgency. You're stuck in a time loop, but all you can hear is urgency. You need to go faster. You're stuck and you need to go. Yeah, you're stuck. You need to go. You need to go. Urgency. And you're like, where the fuck do I go? I'm stuck. Where the fuck do I go? And I got to get there fast. I'm stuck and I need to go. See, so we're just repeating the issue, not actually resolving it, because we're stuck on the symptom, which is the $400. But when you stop, and so this is where the meditation comes in, where I tell you guys, stop the moment that you experience something. So timing. Okay, so this is, let me go back up. Let me go in the middle, or let me start from the top. So flow, where does the flow break? We realize that the flow break is a root issue, not the symptom, but let's move on. Okay, operational domain. What domains are there so that we know what roots there are? There's different domain issues. Consciousness operates generally in about 4 different domains. What role are you playing, right? Do you know? How are you regulating for that role? Do you know? What actions are you taking? Do you know? What is the timing? Do you know? If you don't know any one of those, that's where your root issues are. There's a flow break, right? So so what are the symptoms before we get into what governs it and the core tools? We won't look at that. We're just going to look right here. So before we figure out the tools that we need, we know what domain the issue is, right? Let's figure out, the pattern is really loud. I put this as number 3, and I debated putting the symptom as number 1 to figuring things out, but I like this flow better because it constantly forces you to think about the root rather than the symptom, right? If I put the symptom as number 1, then it's easy to rely on symptoms to tell you things rather than to think, what's the root? Where's the root? What role am I playing? What actions am I taking? What is the timing right now? Do you know? If the answer is no, then it's not your timing. If you don't know what actions to take, it's not your time to take action. If you don't know what role you're playing, then you shouldn't be playing any roles. If you see how that works, if you don't know whether you are regulated or not, then you need to sit and regulate. See, when we think about the domains, it puts us right there. Do you know? If you don't, then stop. Because that's where you need to go and ask that question. So I tell you to stop, right? And then you want to journal and see if any of these signatures or patterns come up. So you journal about how you feel and what you think. You don't need to talk to anybody but yourself. So just write everything. If you write, this big fucking bitch is pissing me off. I don't like her. She sent me an email, and I know in the email that she's trying to be coquettish and shit. She's trying to dance around the fucking, point X, Y, and Z to make me look like I'm the one who fucked it up when it wasn't even me. She's trying to cover her tracks and doesn't even make any fucking sense because it's neither of our fault. If that's what you write down, then just write that down. Just write that down. Okay? You don't need to write fancy. You don't need to write from a clinical standpoint. You don't need to go into this with a framework. You just need to pour out, okay? Write on your little notebook, slam bitch, I hate these bitches, if you need to remind yourself that this notebook is for scribbles, ugly writes, you gorilla gripping your fucking pencil and, just write. I don't care what you do. You know what I mean? I just need everybody to get past the perfectionism where they want to make everything pretty and eloquent. Sometimes I get emails. I'm gonna put somebody in blast right now. Somebody sent me an email, maybe? No, DM, message, somebody. I got a message somehow. And somebody said, I think it was a comment. They left a comment. They were like, I've been sitting in front of your FAQ thing for hours now, and I just keep typing and deleting and typing and deleting. I don't even know what to say. And I'm laughing because I'm like, so you came to a video, commented, or got in touch with me to let me know that you don't know what to say. This is somebody who's highly communicative, but they're forcing themselves to try to deliver a certain answer rather than just to listen to themselves. Writing down, gorilla gripping your pencil, and writing whatever the fuck you feel, how you feel, misspelling things. Writing, I hate chocolate and this bitch is only buying chocolates. Oh, I'm pissed. Also, I'm grateful that she bought me chocolates because that's really nice that she didn't have to think about me at all. But I fucking hate chocolates and she knows that. Why doesn't she ever fucking remember? That's it. If that's what you write, by all fucking means. I need people to just get to that place. You have an inner child in there. And your inner child, like a lot of you, pick an age that you are, right? Maybe you're 45, 35, 25, whatever. I need you to understand that whatever age you are right now, there are also the other ages that you were inside of you, and not all of them speak with the same diction that you do. So you got to stop judging. Like when 3-year-old you just draws a fucking clown on the paper and goes, "This is me," and then cries. I don't really do this. I don't know. I must be channeling somebody because this is getting... I mean, one hand, I like to be funny, right? And I like to use, the angry stuff because it gets us laughing. But somebody who's drawing clowns of themselves, who feels like a clown, you don't need to answer. I'm just saying, somebody said basically my journal 2 days ago. Yeah, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you feel that way and you need to write that, or you draw somebody else and be like, this is them. Oh, I actually have a scene like that in The Keeper's Vow. The main character, she gets very frustrated and angry with the main character. He's a guy, and they have a telepathic communication, and this is unbeknownst to her. You know what I'm saying? It's some vampire shit. It's canon. Anyways. She's frustrated because something's not going her way and she feels like he's judging her. So she draws him and she goes, "This is you." And then she scribbles all over him and he starts cracking up laughing because that's the dumbest shit he's ever seen somebody do when they're angry, is draw a stick figure of it and then draw all over it. He found it funny. And then, she starts laughing. But that's what I mean is, sometimes your emotions are petty or they're childish in nature and you need to get them out so that they can be acknowledged, because otherwise you keep telling them to shut up and wait. And do you know what that felt like when you were a kid? To be told that you needed to wait to express your emotions, and to the point where everybody forgot to come back to you, and then you eventually forgot to come back to yourself. Damn, the song, "You Got to Grow." Grow. Who sings this? It's called "Grow" by Face Soul. You got to grow. Yeah. And the only way to grow is to allow those versions of you to surface, right? So when we know the domain, right, we can sit down, you get your journal open, you pour out your feelings. Then you just go back and see if you see any signs of urgency, any signs of collapse, any signs of fixation or avoidance. Urgency looks like timing issues. I want things to happen now. I need this now. You'll know. A lot of you, I say most of you, and I should say each and every single one of you, because children shouldn't be taking these courses, but all of you are adults. You know whether you are experiencing urgency or not, even when you're trying to hide it from yourself. The point of journaling is that you can't hide. A lot of people are really good at pretending and hiding in front of others, so you get really good at hiding from yourself and justifying and being obtuse and obscure with yourself. But journaling forces you to be very fucking straight on. You can write down and you can edit as much as you want, but you're the one editing and you can see yourself editing, and who are you editing for? Eventually you have to face those questions. So it becomes really easy eventually to notice whether or not you are speaking with urgency. Whether you feel urgency. Do you feel collapsed? Do you feel like everything has fallen down? Everything has fallen down. And nothing is working. Everything is crumbling, right? Fixation. Are you going round and round and round and round and round and round and round on something instead of forward? If you don't see a way forward, then you are going round and round and round and round. Avoidance. Are you avoiding it? The easy answer is, are you doing it or not? And does that bother you? If you're doing it, you're not avoiding it. If you're not doing it and it doesn't bother you, you're at rest. You really don't care. You're probably doing something else. If you're not doing it and it's bothering you, there's avoidance in here. There's avoidance. An aspect of you is avoiding doing something. That doesn't mean that aspect is wrong. It just means that you're on hold. Sometimes like I said, if you're constantly ignoring your own emotions and telling it to wait, why do you think your emotional state at your big ass age wouldn't be treated the same way by a higher version of you that's working on whatever you're trying to fix, right? Oh, not the clowns, the angry ranting. Okay, I'm so glad. I'm glad you were drawing pictures of yourself as a clown. This is you. That'd be crazy. I'd be like, listen. Listen, better language with this L. But I want you all to get and just to understand here that if you are not doing something and it bothers you, then you are having an avoidance issue because an aspect of you is saying not right now. The next step, if you are conscious, is to investigate why. If you're unconscious or you're in a childlike state of emotion, so this is I haven't grown up this emotion hasn't been processed. Somebody in my childhood years most likely ignored me in this state and just told me to deal with it, and the only way I could deal with it is just to sit and torture myself until it's done. And now that I'm an adult, I've perfected sitting and torturing myself in a very graceful and eloquent way that I no longer looks like torture. It just looks like self-sabotage. So instead of reacting, you go inward. We take those deep breaths. I just did a thing on this. I'll tell you in a second. But you take deep breaths. You center in your body. You get into your body. And you just sit and let shit swirl around you. Just let it swirl around you. How long? Until it's done swirling around you. Jesus fucking Christ. You hurry tornadoes along. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's always like, when is this going to be done? I don't fucking know. I'm not a force of nature. I'm just the messenger. I don't know when the tornado is going to stop swirling, but it will. I've never heard of a tornado that just doesn't. You know what I mean? I mean, they do have whirlpools in the ocean. That's a very real thing. I lived next to Naruto, and I think it was like Naruto Shi or something. Or it's a city in anyways, they have whirlpools. It's on Shikoku Island, which is one of the biggest islands in Japan that isn't the mainland, right? And there's all these whirlpools underneath, around and stuff like that. So I mean, like, those ones are always going. My bad. But not like usual tornadoes. Usually those stop after a while. But I'll tell you what will keep going. You'll keep spinning in that bitch if you don't, sit, go inwards and sit. Going inwards and sit is like going into the cellar, during a tornado and waiting underground and just waiting. And being reactive and being like, well, I wonder what, and maybe I should text, and maybe I should try this. Doing that is like running outside and getting swept up in the tornado, and then you get twirled round, which becomes a fixation issue because you're trying to take on a role based on an action that's not yours to take. And then you go round, you collapse. Actually, then you start urgency is what sends you out there, right? And then you collapse. And then you feel urgency again, like you're stuck and you need to move and do stuff. But now you've collapsed and you're outside and you really got to rest. You're like hospital state collapse, because you got swirled around in a tornado. That's a totally different type of rest than the people are taking in the cellar. One got fucked up and the other one's chilling. So this is how the force of nature that you cannot see is working. And you are either in flow. When you hear the alarms go off, you go in the cellar and sit and listen and see what's going on. Or you run outside like a white man in a suburban neighborhood and ask, "Where's it? Is that a tornado? Wow, look at that tornado. I think it's coming towards us. I think it's coming towards us. Is that the tornado? That's the tornado. Is it coming towards us? I think it's coming towards us." You know, they just stand out there saying the same thing. Whoa. Meanwhile, his wife is standing inside. "Get in here, Henry. That's a tornado." "I know. Shut the fuck up, Bethany. I know it's a tornado. I can see it." And she's like, "Then why the fuck are you standing outside? I'm so goddamn tired of you." You know, now you're listening to two people argue. And there's a tornado. And man, that sounds like a very stressful childhood home. Anyways, the point that I'm making is it is best to go with the flow. So now that we know the signatures, right? These are how the breakdown sounds. These things are happening. Then you know what domain it is, and then you know how to attack it. Like I said, timing. If you feel like there's urgency, the question is it the right time? If the answer is yes, because someone asked, and they're standing in front of you waiting, or you were asked to submit, or, you know, that there's a very concrete external sign for you to do something. You, like a sign, a billboard said, "Please call us now." And then it has your name at the end. And you're like, holy shit. That was weird, because you asked, should I call? And then the billboard says that. And you go, well, that's wild. You know, that happens. And then you get on a train and someone on the train says, "Can you please call me now?" And they're looking at you, but they're on the phone. And you realize that they're doing that thing where people stare at you, but they're staring past you. They're not really looking at you. And you're like, oh, that's 2 times. But 3rd time's a charm. And then you get off the train, you go to work, and you forget all about it. And then you get home, and then you start watching this TV show. And on the show, somebody starts breaking down, "I don't even know why you haven't called me yet. Honestly, there's no reason why you haven't called. Why haven't you called me?" And you're like, this is weird. This is weird. So then you make the phone call, and someone's like, "Oh, yeah, you know, I was waiting. I didn't think you'd call, but I was hoping you would." There you go. 3rd time's a charm, if that's what you need for, like, synchronicities. It's okay to say to the universe, "Send me 3 solid signs." But if someone says, "Hey, can you call me tomorrow?" Please don't ask for 3 solid signs. The person only needs to ask you once. That is very physical, concrete proof that the time is now. So if you don't know, then it's not time. You need to be invited. Next, is it collapse? Are you regulated? The question here is, do you feel like you can follow your joy or not? If you cannot feel joy or know the activity, the thing that you can do, if you're like, well, what am I going to do today? I do this every morning I wake up. This is the only way that I know how things are ordered. I have very few commitments that don't change. Like, class is either Thursday or Saturday if Thursday doesn't work out, okay? Book club is Tuesdays. And then I have coursework that I have to do sometimes, you know, so there's time that's built in for that, right? But there's, like, chunks. Otherwise, I don't really have too many, like, strong commitments all the time. I have, like, very few. I keep rigid commitments down to a minimum. Okay, because every day that I wake up, I just ask myself, what do I have to do? I'll write that down after I've journaled about 3 pages about my own feelings and emotions and whatever is at the top of my mind. I'll journal, and then I write down a to-do list of all the things that need to be done that week. Anything that's on the top of my mind. I'm not digging. I don't need to dig. I just jot down what's at the top of my mind. And then I ask myself, what brings me joy on that list? If nothing brings me joy on that list, then I don't do anything of the to-do. It's not the time to do anything. It's the time to just rest. So now I can say, well, what can I do to play if I'm bored? Because, like, resting, you can lay down, you can watch the sky, you can look at the grass, you can exercise, you can eat, right? Take care of yourself. If I've done all that and I'm bored and I don't feel like doing anything on the to-do list, what can I do to play? I always put on my to-do list, enjoy yourself, enjoy, rest. I put those things on the to-do list every single time, so those are options. But, like, then I play. And then eventually play starts to wind down, and I remember I have a to-do list. So then I go, well, what's the most what's the matter of most priority? And then that seems, I all of a sudden have energy to do that all of a sudden. Now I'm doing that thing. But sometimes that's not until 8 o'clock at night. That's when the energy hits, and it only takes me 30 minutes to do something I thought might take me 3 hours. But that's because the timing is right. How do I know the timing's right? I don't. I just asked. And the universe said, right now. And I went, I felt the pull to do it because I asked. And when you ask and you're okay with hearing not now, no, then you are okay with asking. When you're not okay hearing not now, no, then you avoid asking and you just try to control it instead because you don't want to hear no. You want it to be now. Does that make sense? So this is where timing gets fucked up. When you want something now, then you're not actually interested in timing. You're just interested in getting it now, which means you're uninterested in that in any other aspect, including what it takes to get the thing. And sometimes what it takes and is the journey that makes a thing worth it. You know what I mean? Very rarely is the journey ever something you don't want to go on. The journey will teach you how to take care of stuff, how to utilize stuff, how to receive stuff, how to get stuff, all sorts of things like that. And the next, role, fixation, right? So the role. Do you know what role you are to play? Meaning, do you know your purpose in any given situation, relationship, or environment? So if somebody says, hey, come hang out, do you know the role that you're playing? Are you playing a coworker? Are you playing a friend? Are you just getting to know somebody? Are you in deep, intimate space with this person and you're there for emotional support? What are you there to do? This helps with so much. Because when you know your role, you won't get fixated on how you're being perceived or whether you're doing it right or wrong or whether someone appreciates you or not. You can just be yourself. Okay, life is like the best acting gig you can ever get because it's the one where people want you, not you to play a character. They want you to play a role instead. So they want you to be your character, but do this role. So that'd be like, I want you, but I want you to be the sad, love-struck girl who's 16 trying to get with some weird boy on a fishing boat. You know what I mean? Ariel. And you go, that doesn't know, I don't want to be you're like a 35-year-old woman. And you're like, I don't want to act like a starstruck 16-year-old who's hung up on a boy on a fishing boat and I'm a fucking mermaid and I gotta lose my voice. If I start asking you to play that role and I describe the role, you might be put off. You can easily say no, right? But if I say, hey, you remind me of Ariel, you might romanticize that and get stuck or fixated on a role. Does this person see me as this, as that, blah, 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 right? It's hard to reject the role because you don't really know what your role is, right? You don't know what the role is. You just know the name of the character, Ariel, and what you can glean from it. But not, I'm asking you to be something. So here's the thing. Life is one instance where you get to be yourself. You get to bring your character, who you are, to a role, what you do for others in the community or for yourself or for nature, whatever have you. And so either you know what that role is, you know what your purpose is, or you don't. If you're in a relationship and it's a situationship, you're probably in fixation, right? And this causes so many different attachment issues because you're fixated on either not being perceived as caring or being perceived as caring. You're fixated on how you're being perceived and how this person's showing up and whether they're showing up this, that. Fixation. So now this whole person's life has become circled around another person. Both men and women in incel spaces. So that's red pill and pink pill content tend to be fixated on the role of gender, right? What's the gender role that you're playing and how do I play that role? How do they play that role? Are they playing it right? Are they allowed to tell me that I'm playing it right or wrong? Right? They get fixated on this. But that's because they don't know the purpose in their relationship. That requires a human and a soul connection. What's my purpose? And for me, in any relationship, my purpose is to enjoy myself. And then whatever role someone asks me to play, like if someone invites me to hang out with them and their family and as a friend and somebody who is a part of their life, I go there through them. So that means I'm respecting them in that space. I'm there as their emotional support. I'm not there to go be inducted in a family and get tons of attention and to experience this, that. No, I'm there mostly as an observer and a witness to this person and their glory in this household, and also to enjoy the company of others and to enjoy the place that they came from, to get to know them deeper and to understand them in many different ways, to see different aspects of them. You see how like all of a sudden my experience here has more to do with them, so I become more of an observer and less of an actor in this place, because this person is giving me the chance to like get to know them on a deeper level, right? When you respect the role, you also respect how you play the role and what that means, and there's no fixation issues whatsoever. You don't need to think much more beyond that, right? Like, it means that this person thinks about you deeply. And that could be significant, or it could not. Some people think about people deeply after meeting them for 2 seconds. And some people, it takes years. You'll know that about a person too. So meeting a Pisces family is totally different than meeting a Capricorn's family. You know what I mean? Or a Scorpio's family. Scorpio might take forever for you to meet their family, whereas like a Pisces, you're going to meet their family in the first day. They're going to, like, I don't know, you met them at 4 o'clock in the morning, and by 10 o'clock in the morning, now you've met their whole family, eating breakfast at their house and shit like that. You guys just left a bar or some shit like that. Not to like fuck with Pisces, but it'd be like that with Pisces energy. It's deep. Pisces, they're always in the deep part of the ocean. So when they meet people there, usually they're meeting people who are already in that kind of space in their life for whatever reason. Which is why I say, when it comes to roles, it should always be to enjoy yourself first, and to fulfill something that you've committed to, okay? And that helps you with alignment. And then, of course, when to take action. Do you know the step to take? Now, if I were to ask you, okay, I'm going to put a blindfold on you and walk you to a set of stairs, do you feel comfortable going down that set of stairs? I didn't tell you that the staircase has mismatched levels, did I? It's a little funky staircase where some of the stairs are shorter than the other. Are you still comfortable going down the stairs with the blindfold on? No, you've never seen these stairs before. This is your first time going. Okay, so then you probably don't want to take a step, right? If you don't know what step to take, don't take a step. Wait until the step becomes clear. A lot of people freak out at this because you've literally just come from being stuck, not knowing what steps to take, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it can feel like it's going to take forever for steps to show themselves to you, but it's not. What we're doing is refining your ability to notice how you take steps. You're always taking steps. Steps are always coming available to you. And the problem is that, especially when Uranus was in Gemini, or in Taurus, right? Remember, Uranus is a tornado. It's shaking up things in your sector of value. So it can be hard to know what steps to take and what to do when you don't value what steps you take already. Most of you are extremely accomplished here. Okay? I'm not surprised, but I always have a little chuckle because some of you have so many different titles. You have so many different accomplishments. And then the one thing that kind of binds a lot of people together is their inability to sit in the value of that. Oh, you know that you're a baddie, but you don't sit in it. No. You pofenticate with it. Whatever, the pofenticate. Is that the word that I'm looking for? Let me actually look. No, I can't say, let me not. I was like, I'm going to have to open up another tab. But the point is that you let it lead, or your reputation precedes you, for sure. And I'm not saying that you are, what's the word? This is not a vanity thing or egoistic. No. This is different. It's a different type of way of being where you accept that you are exceptional. However, do you sit in it? Some of you think or practice too much humility to the point where you say, I am not anything. A lot of you aren't there anymore, but sometimes you probably were at some point in time. The ability to sit in your success, right, to sit in it, is the ability to be in your body and open up your heart and accept that it's you. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to take any action. You don't need to do anything because you will. You do. You are. The version of you in your body takes action. The version of you in your head freaks out and thinks about taking action and thinks about what will happen if you don't take action and thinks about all the times that you have thought about this before and you almost didn't take action and it almost went terrible until you knew what action to take, and then you took that action and then you avoided it being terrible. But if you hadn't thought about it, would you have noticed that you like weren't taking action? If you hadn't thought about it, would you have figured out the action to take? Well, yes, because you actually got an email that moved you forward. It wasn't to do anything with your thinking. That's usually what's going on, is you're up here, and up here you can't do anything, so you need to get in your body. But you can't also force yourself into your body to do stuff that you have up here. Sometimes the problem is you're like, I just need to get in my body so I can do these things. I just need to get in my body so I can do these things. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. You go into your body so that you can receive the next steps. Okay? It's like if I ask you, please step into the classroom so that you can learn science. And you stand outside of the classroom so that you can learn science, because you just need to stand outside here so you can go into the classroom and learn science, but you got to stand outside here to learn the science. You can't go into the classroom, because if you go into the classroom, you won't be standing here ready to catch science. And that is as crazy as it sounds, and it happens to all of us, so no need to be ashamed. I do that all the time. I do that all the time, and then I'm like, ooh, I gotta let it go. And then I let it go. You throw a little tantrum, and then you let it go. And then go inside. But I don't know what happens when I'm inside. I don't know. Exactly. So you go inside, and then you'll find out. When? Jesus fucking Christ. I have this argument all the time in my head with, like, imaginary people. Anytime I have a framework that I'm about to present to somebody, I can hear people making counters all the time. And one particular, the reason why all of you are like this is because you've been conditioned by colonialism to have to prove something before you've done it. And when you're conditioned to have to prove something before you do the thing, it makes you try to do the thing before doing the thing so you can do the thing. Because you're trying to get permission to do the thing, and the only way to get permission to do the thing is to do the thing and show them that you can do the thing so that they'll let you do the thing. Whoo! Anybody, just raise your hands if you were ever in the situation where you had to do everything so other people would let you do a part of it. I saw some hearts over here. Yeah, so then you realized you did all of it. And now everybody wants credit. And then if you complain, people will say that, well, you kind of took over everything and did it, so what were they supposed to do? That's the problem, is when you're conditioned to prove yourself by doing before you need to do the thing, you end up in a fucked up conundrum that fucks up not only your nervous system and your sequencing, but also it makes social experiences negative, because people can easily justify that you're the problem, even though they initiated the problem. It's a form of gaslighting and a form of getting people to do work without acknowledging or doing outward manipulation. But it is manipulative. When people ask you 1,000 questions, well, what would you do with this? Well, what about this? When other people are trying to prove that your thing isn't the way to go or the way to do, sometimes that's to get you to do the work for everybody else. I don't think a lot of people realize that now that I've said that out loud. That was something I learned very early, because when you're really intelligent and stuff like that, people try to get you to do stuff, and people would try to get me to do stuff by like trying to attack my ego around intelligence, like trying to get me to answer all of the questions. And it's like, you guys realize I'm intelligent, I can see what you're doing. I would drive people crazy, because they'd argue, and I'd be like, no, either agree to it and then I'll do it, or don't. And they'd be like, well, why don't you just show me? And I'd be like, no. And then I'd be like, well, I'm not interested. Then I'd start walking away, and then people would freak out, because they need the thing. They need you. They just don't want to admit it, because if they do, for whatever reason, it means something to them. I don't know. I don't really care. But sometimes that behavior comes from there. So I explain all of that to say, sit down with yourself in these moments when the whole world is swirling around you and you are just sitting still. If you can allow all that shit to happen, the lessons of the memories of when you were conditioned will surface, and you can watch those play out. You will feel traumatized, and you'll feel like it's happening to you all over again. No, your brain is showing you the original script that you built that keeps you stuck in a loop. If you just buy into the script, you'll stay stuck. If you acknowledge that this happened to you, then it starts to, you get your power back. You get released from it because you realize that this is why you feel the way that you do and think the way that you do. Not that how you feel and how you think is reality. No, it was a condition. Here's the memory of where you conditioned yourself. Right? And why did you condition yourself? Probably because you had shitty parents, or your parents were just being shitty in the moment, or you had a shitty experience with people in your community. I mean, like, there's 1,000 reasons, you know what I mean? This world is full of crazy shit. There's a lot of reasons of why. Okay, so then obviously, so we have all these tools, and these tools teach you, are in each class. And each class, obviously, you can go through and get all of the practical experience and stuff. I'm not going to go through those because you can look at those down below, and just understand that, like, so sometimes I think, like, the creative awakening, embracing the elements, 12 non-material senses, those three packed together usually gives you a full circuit of tools to work with here. Okay, the other classes deepen it exponentially, but just the basics, those three, the 12 non-material senses is like 12 videos, so like 15 minutes each. Then just go over the senses you probably didn't know existed, right? You know your 5 material ones: sight, sound, taste, touch, feel, right? You know those ones, but the non-material ones, I'll name them really quick. Sense of self, desire, thought, feeling, will, magnitude, perception, presence, belief, knowing, vision, and like how you envision, so imagination, and belief, oneness, I'm sorry. And those all follow the zodiac signs, if you can if you can imagine. You know, it's all related. So yeah, those ones, teach you about those so that you can just be aware of that. Embracing the elements teaches you about the 4 body system. You have a physical, emotional, mental, and physical body, spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical body. And how are you navigating? How do you move your consciousness between those 4 bodies? And can you become aware of that? How do you become aware of that so that you can actually navigate and move your consciousness from your head and your air when you're in your mental body down into the physical body, so that you can feel things from a sensory level? Because sometimes your body is in pain, and that impacts your emotional body. So if you're doing digestion, if you're having a digestion issue, that can make you feel like the world is bad, like something bad might happen to you. Something bad's going to start happening soon. I just know it. And it's like, yeah, you're digesting things and your body says they hate the thing that you just ate. What bad is going to happen is you're going to have a stomach cramp. But it's hard to understand that when you're not in your physical body and you're used to repressing, like, and numbing that sense, because you can numb your senses. Just the same way you can stop caring about someone's perception of you, you can numb your sense of perception towards them. You can numb how you physically feel. So therefore your emotions all of a sudden tank, and you think it's because someone's walked in and didn't say hi to you. Anybody raise a hand? Anybody's ever experienced the backside of that? Someone's having a physical issue and then they project their fucked up feelings onto you, and like, because you weren't like conscientious of them and their physical internal world, and you didn't say hi because you said hi earlier but they didn't hear you and you didn't want to interrupt them, so you just went about your business, and now they're like, oh, you didn't say, you know, I guess we're not speaking. I'm sorry, what? Are you all right? What do you mean not speaking? What? Well, where is this even coming from? You get confused? Or have you ever done that and somebody else has been confused and you're like, you've got this whole thing, this whole storyline going about how they've been ignoring you, and they're confused because they haven't even been thinking about you, and you're like, exactly, no empathy. And they're like, well, I mean, yes, but because my world doesn't revolve around you, I'm confused. Right? That's the symptom. That's that happening, that back and forth. Yeah. So, oh man, what was I saying there? Oh yeah, so like sometimes it's just important, I want to say, to recognize where consciousness is in your body, because you can move from your physical body into your emotional body, into your mental body, into your spiritual body. You can do that at will by being aware of it, by literally just putting your attention on it, and then you'll notice your awareness moves there. And by asking questions, your body, your consciousness, it's an intelligence in itself, and so you're just learning how to move through it. And then the creative awakening is when I force you to spend time with yourself for about 3 months and just focus on yourself and go hang out with yourself and write and shit like that, so that you actually get to know who you are and stop asking everybody else in the goddamn world about it, or trying to piece it together with TikTok videos. I see y'all. I know. I'm appreciative of all of the attention. Obviously, it bodes well for me, but I also am far more, invested in people's maturation. So I really do want people to embody by actually doing practical application. So I force people to take at least 3 months with themselves. Sometimes people try to zoom through that stuff, or they try to get things done quickly as possible, or they get lost in it because they don't really know what to do and how to sit with it this way. That's the point of the 3 months. It's structured, just once a week, and do your journaling. Take yourself on an artist date. Hopefully they're free, because all you're doing is spending time with yourself, doing something that you can enjoy, something that stretches your imagination. Don't worry, there are plenty of prompts that help you get there, but that's what it's for, because after a month you will have not only observed yourself, but you will have started to integrate a new habit, journaling and taking yourself out on a date. And that by itself, just doing that little thing, just doing those little things, okay, they only take a little bit of time in your life. You will see astronomical differences, because you have the tools necessary to analyze your development and measure it, and then refine and adjust. And then, like I said, the other classes where you can get some of the timing literacy, like planetary intelligence, is for channelers. Okay, all of you are channelers. Have you got there yet? Some of you are at the level where you're still learning how to alchemize your own energy. Some of you are at the level where you're trying to figure out what your energy even is. What is energy? Right? Some of you are very much up there where you're like, nah, I've been channeling since day one. I just want to know, like, the specifics of this. I want to get really, like, into the nuances of it and really see who I am. This song's playing. Hold on. Me crazy. Dancing with the Devil. Of course. Feels so special. Something like that. Dancing with the Devil. Yeah, I feel so special dancing with the devil. Yeah, that's some of you. You're going to get into the nuance, nitty-gritty of it. And that's really important, too, because a lot of you are great magicians. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have the intelligence to be able to do all sorts of amazing things on this planet. That's what you are here to do. And so that is, planetary intelligence is really helpful, because it helps you open up those channels and understand actually and build language so that you can, it's like going from not having a calendar and a clock to having a calendar and a clock. All of a sudden things get cooking. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have a calendar and a clock. You're just living day based off of, I don't know, like, wherever your ass feels like being itched, you scratch it. That's kind of like, you're like, I guess. And then somebody else comes through and forces you to do stuff, and you have to learn on their whims, and everything becomes, like, not necessarily spontaneous, but things hit you. They become unpredictable, right? You're in survival mode. But once you get a calendar and a clock, now time's yours. So it's the same thing with these systems. Once you get the tools of consciousness, now consciousness is yours. Go out. Conquer yourself. Right? Conquer yourself. What does that mean? It means to overcome all of the obstacles you put in your way between you and growth and maturity to self-actualization, and then go out and conquer group projects. What does that mean? That means when you come together with a group of people, you overcome yourself and all of your obstacles to be able to come together with others and to think in unity. So this means you must go out and expand. So this is the problem with manifest destiny and conquering the concepts there, right? People think it means to go out and take. No, it means to go out and discover. Sagittarius energy. You go out to discover. And that's in Jupiter. Expansion, meaning more than one, you add. These are upgrades, right? We don't take things, we become more. We have more experiences and more vantage points. That's integration. So the manifest destiny and the conquering that comes from starvation says take, because you never know when it's going to be gone. But the conquering of the self means, like, what you think that isn't. You keep things small because you believe you are small. And when you believe you are small, you become, you know, the tool of someone else's making. But when you know your own power and you are conscious, then you get to make the choices, and those choices do impact and they matter, right? The world becomes what you make it. And what you make it does have consequences. You will rub up against other people. And so what you make it, if it's hell, it's hell. If you get stuck in loops, you get stuck in loops. If you make it with alignment, then you're in alignment. And you get to keep discovering what's around the river bend. What's around the river bend? I once more, right? You get to, like, see. That's, like, the beauty. That's the beauty in it. Yeah, I love Pocahontas. Okay. So, you know, that's going to be our question for today, because I feel like, you know, we go through all of these all the time. All the questions are almost always the same. They're not the same. They're different angles. That's what I love. So I'm going to keep going through the comment section though now. And then we'll call it kind of a day. Let me see. I once more just around the river bend. The streets of hell call to me sometimes. I have to go drink or whatever. I go have a drink or whatever. Yeah, see, Cat First House, I was like a bottom, those worms down there. Yeah, sometimes, so the streets of hell, I mean, like, be mindful, you know, you're having drinks with spirits and stuff like that, but it's true, right? You can feel the shift in the air, and hell isn't always a negative thing. But negative things can be had there, and that's why angels are also found in hell. They're just called demons, and demons are only scary to people who are down there trying to do fucked up shit and hide, right? Because now you're talking to a demon, and that demon seems hungry and eager to catch you. That just sounds like an angel who's trying to fuck you up for justice. I always laugh every time people talk about demons. Anytime I go snooping, I find out that the demon is nothing but a winged beast. And that winged beast is an angel with a chip on their shoulder because they're irritated and pissed about something, and they just need a bit of release. And sometimes the release is taking the person who's got them trapped there, right? Like angel, I mean, when you think about angels and demons, you're really just talking about the soul from two sides of the same coin. Your soul is either in angelic form or it's in demon form. If it's in hell, your soul has to navigate as a demon. I'm sorry, but it's hot and toasty and it's hard to fly with feathers when everything's on fucking fire. Ask Icarus. You know what I mean? So, like, naturally you take on a demonic form, and the demonic form is just whatever meets the situation. Okay, you also have to be held accountable for what demonic energies you put out into the world. But sometimes you run up on somebody and they're doing harm to something and they need to be stopped. And so then you stop it. If you have to tell someone, hey, what's your fucking problem? Why are you talking to them that way? Like, I understand you're frustrated, but you need to fix your language. And, oh, you're a demon now because you confronted somebody. Hey, stop talking. You know, remember I told you guys, I don't remember when it was. I had to look out the window, make sure my neighbors aren't there. I don't want them to know I'm talking about them, even though I don't mind. But yeah, the lady downstairs was yelling at that baby a little too weird. So I went down there. I was wearing, you know, like my oversized nightgown. It has strawberries on it. It's hot pink. So we have in my household, we have definitely coined that this nightgown looks like it belongs in a ward. I was like, now it's my least favorite one. Because, you know, it just wasn't giving what I thought it would give. Okay? It's giving psych ward. So I was like, I don't like this. But it's still a nightgown. I'm going to use it because it's still comfy. And that house so happened to be the night that the lady downstairs decided to lose her fucking mind. And she's screaming, and the baby's screaming. And this is going on for a little bit. And then the screaming escalates with the baby. And she starts slamming doors. And so I went down there. I was red hot. You want to talk about hell being like, man, the gates were fucking busted open. I went down there, I banged on the door, and I yelled at them. I was like, I don't want to fucking hear that kid crying like that again. Do you understand me? Like, I just need you to understand that I do not like that sound. Like, there is no reason, like, babies cry and you know, they were like, oh, the baby was just being naughty. And I was like, oh, no, absolutely the fuck not. If they were like, oh, he's got colic, I'd have been like, oh, you know, I'm sorry to disturb you all. I'm sorry to come down here and disturb you all in the plight of colic. You know, babies just screaming, and sometimes kids scream and they can't be helped. But no, they were like, oh, the baby was just doing something bad. How does a fucking baby do bad shit? Fuck off. Absolutely the fuck not. So I got demonic. then once, I told you guys before, there were Jehovah Witnesses knocking on the door, and and I didn't like how they were pressuring my husband to stand there. You know, he's a nice person, and even though he has some very strong boundaries and energy of his own, he's very much a man and can take care of himself. I have a problem with religious pushies, you know? I don't like when people be pushing religion and shit, especially when they're knocking on your fucking door all crazy. Anyways, yeah, they were doing all that, and then, you know, he was trying to close the door, and then the lady just kind of, you know, well, you know, she did that move that says, no, please don't. I'm not going to let you go yet. I didn't like that, so I looked through the peephole at that moment, and I was staring at her, and I don't want to tell you guys what I was hearing in my fucking head, because it wasn't me. I was just looking at her. Then all of a sudden, my husband, he tells me later, he's like, yeah, it was crazy. It was like, you must have been whispering shit to her through the fucking door, because she got freaked out after a second. The moment you started looking through that peephole, she started looking at the door like she knew you were back there, and I was like, yeah, she probably heard demons talking to her. I heard them, and they were telling her to leave. Hey, was it me and my demon? I don't know. I just heard demons, and I was like, bitch, you need to go. I don't like this. Were they her demons, my demons? Were they all of our demons, and my demons are scarier than hers? I don't give a fuck. I will tell you this. They left. So sometimes your soul takes on demonic energy because of the situation that you're in. And sometimes it takes on angelic energy. Have you ever done something kind? I've seen a man sleeping once by the pizza store. He was just outside, and it was, you know, the area where people eat, and so I just went in there, I got him some pizza, I wrote a note on the receipt, you know, gave him a $20 bill. I didn't know his fucking situation. I wasn't going to wake him up either. You know, he was also a white man, and I'm a black woman. Hey, I don't need to wake up this man and him to decide that he has nothing to lose. You know, we act with discernment around here. We care for people in the community, but also at the same time, you know, I am very much aware of my own positioning and the fact that I'm the only person doing something. All these people walking by and nobody wants to say or do anything, well, fuck them. And also fuck this guy for putting me in the position to have to be kind. Let me go and feed him. And so then I go and I feed him. And then I actually, you know, I signed it at the bottom. Anyways, I'm not going to say it. But at the bottom, there's a like a little symbol that I always put. Funny enough, it means something to me, and I just put it there, and I had a little giggle to myself. It's just like a little very angelic or friendly symbol. But anyways, yeah, and I left that there. That was angelic. I literally was on a walk that day, not of my own accord. I just went on a walk, and I was walking aimlessly, and then I decided to get a slice of pizza, and I was sitting there, and I noticed the guy, and I got him some food. Was I on, and oh, let me put it this way. I rarely do I walk around with $20 in my pocket, but I did. For some reason, that day, I made sure I had it, and then boom, I had it to give. So was it me, like the human version of me, Francina, who's out here doing altruistic things? No, I wasn't. I didn't go out of my own fucking way to do all that. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And my soul, boom, brought this to my attention because it's the will of the divine, right? This is how we take care of each other. Not for attention, not for anything, but just because. It's the same thing when you go out harvesting plants. You don't take everything just because something in you says don't take everything. And the reason why you didn't take everything is because hours later there would be something hungry coming along and they needed to eat too, right? We have a soul connection. It's your soul telling you that. But the resonance of your soul is your bioelectric field. If you are tired of being in hell and your soul acting like a demon all the time, you're justified, sure. Everyone's doing you wrong and you have to stand up for yourself, sure, you're justified. But if you're tired of that, then what do you have to change? Your field of resonance, so that your soul can operate and have you operate, your vessel operate on a totally different plane. And this is where you get to the place where now you're operating in a more angelic frequencies. But it's not about control, it's about where do you need to be. Your soul will get restless if you, the human, is stuck in a matrix. But your soul is happiest when you're in a cycle. And a cycle isn't a loop. So a loop is just a circle. A cycle is more like an infinity. Like there's an up, there's a down, and you go inwards, you go outwards. So you're divine feminine, divine masculine. And you come together, you do something, you create, and then it goes down, collapse, and into an up rebirth of something new. So this looks like I was an artist, I made paintings, I sold those paintings, and now I collapse. I don't want to paint those types of paintings anymore, but then I got interested in pottery, and now I paint on the pottery that I make. Rebirth, right? You've progressed. That's how progression happens. There's always a collapse of the old and a rebirth of the new, but it's a cyclical thing. And your soul likes that. Your soul is happiest in an alignment that rebirths and replenishes and has new growth and compounds and adds. It's like a garden that turns into a forest, right? We're happy like that. But a forest that turns into a garden, that looks a little reductive. You know what I mean? Like, what do we mean here? Is it still the same size? If it's a forest and it turns into a suburb, everybody feels bad about that. Everybody feels bad about the idea of an entire forest being totally bulldozed for a suburb. Nobody feels good about that, except for people who are dead inside, you know? So there's that. Oh my God, it's been the best Capricorn moon description I've heard. I know, Capricorn moon's happy or helpful. One of my most useful classes from my recent undergrad endeavor. I'm done, by the way, now. Yay, congrats. I was realizing that my communications professor class is really more to it than the book's standards, and also realizing he disregarded Vibe's creativity, also a scary Freemason promoter. Oh. Yeah. Anybody who disregards creativity, especially as a Freemason's promoter, it's because he's manipulative and a narcissist. That's all. Yeah, traumatized. Yeah, he was a narcissist. It's because he was anytime somebody's like disturbed by creative energy in general, it's because they like to control that. And if they're not in control of it, it renders as chaos to them. And that's natural. It's okay. However, right, it is problematic when I hear Freemason at the same time. Because I'm like, he knows way too much about chaos to then also be like scared of it. If he was neurotypical or something like that, like, you know, a real stiff, and he's like, all right, that's interesting, I'd be like, well, he's not scary. He's just underdeveloped. You know what I mean? He's scared, not scary. But someone who has a lot of knowledge in what chaos and what creativity is, but then is also very much like disregards it. It's the icy spirit. It's doing what James Barrie does with Peter Pan. He sees the spirit of like Tiger Lily, right? But he still defiles it. We still get racial slurs. We still see nothing but violence. We see everybody reduced down to playthings for British children, like the fancies of British children, and for like, you know, projection and I don't want to say assimilation, but it's like a vehicle. Appropriation, I guess, you know, for whimsy and shit like that. We still get all of that. So it's, I see the spirit here. I see that there's something wrong with the darlings. There's something wrong with imperialism, but I'm still not, and I see that these savages are in some way, shape, or form like royalty and majestic, but also I'm going to debase it at the same time. Yeah, that always speaks to a certain level of manipulation that that does come from that space. And if we think about it, James Barrie was friends with William Yeats. I think it's William Yeats, and he was a member of the Golden Dawn, so that's like a Freemason type organization. I don't want to say Freemason. I don't know specifically. I don't know how it patterns out later, like if it's still connected, like the Golden Dawn was the origins, but I think so. I don't know too much about Freemasons though. I just know that they exist. I think some emailed me not too long ago, but on accident, and then I spooked them. Yeah, people are always listening. I get a lot of what's it called? People are not voyeurs, you know, people who watch. I think we call them cross watchers. You know, they're not really there for their intention that's been set. They have hidden motives, and occasionally sometimes people show up and they always think that they can hide their hidden motives, and it's like, it's pretty obvious that you have an ulterior motive, because you have an ulterior motive, like either you don't or you do. I'm sorry. I laugh because it's so fucking stupid. It's like either you don't or you do, and then it's like looking at kids playing, I don't know, D&D, and somehow they've convinced themselves that it's real. And it's like, you know, your imagination is a powerful tool, but you cannot replace the spiritual ancestral realm with D&D sessions. That's all. We can use them to transcend into, right, and to understand and to learn and to kind of interact, but like one has to be aware of that, and sometimes they get lost in the sauce. That Peter Pan, what I imagine is real and you have to imagine along with me. It's a cult thing. Okay, so anyways, people who are conditioned into that have a, like, it could have been done to him, so then he does that. So it's like the Lost Boys. If Peter Pan dies, one of the Lost Boys, most likely, what's his name, Swift or some shit like that, would be cut. Slight, I think it's Slight. It was like, he was like, they like him, but when Peter is around, they don't so much like him. They like Peter more. It's like that. If Peter died, he would become the new leader. So it's like, you know, they're all conditioned to do the same thing. It's just to what degree can they? So yes, I have so many planets in Scorpio. Untrusting divine timing and not schedule or due dates has been pretty difficult to me. Yes, trusting divine timing can be extremely difficult. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It can be difficult, but that's only because you've been conditioned to believe that it is difficult. Let me see. Hold on. Let me go grab. I'm going to go grab like a whiteboard. Some funky colors. Oh well. All right. Let me put it this way. Oh man, my voice is. Okay. So we got a snake eating its tail. Hold on, let me drink some water. Okay. So, I'll call this divine. I'm going to call this human. Actually, no. I'm going to put man-made to really get the point across. Man-made blueprint. Okay, and then divine timing. Okay, so I have this here. Okay, let's go ahead and imagine. Oh God, let me see. I'm gonna turn this off. That might help a little bit. Okay, so it's hard to read this, but we have divine timing. Okay. I really want to sing this song. I love it so much. So divine timing looks like boobs. Plus and minus. And the nipples. Yeah, so divine timing is this infinity loop, right? And this is man-made timing. Okay? It's a circle. And the circle just kind of loops on itself. Right? And divine timing says that we're going to do this, and then when we meet, I'm going to put a star here. We're going to rebirth into a new loop. Like this. Oh, my love. Okay, I'm just going to make a bunch of them. Done. Oh, my love. Okay, so here we go. So, divine timing. Oh, look at that. Isn't that cute? It says we're going to go through this process, and then when we meet in the middle, when we meet both ends, right, the energy from both ends, boom, the loop is complete. We're going to rebirth into a new loop, and then we're going to do that. And then, so we'll call this art. We'll call this one dance. And then we'll call this one concert. Ooh, who goes through this circuit? Okay. When you're an artist and you practice art, right? And maybe they were a kid and then they got into dance and then now they're somebody who does concerts. Okay? No ordinary love. Who sings this song? Labyrinth. Okay? Labyrinth is an artist, and if he went and he got deeply, I don't know, does Labyrinth dance? I don't know. I haven't seen music videos, right? But if he started dancing and then he incorporated that into his concerts, do you see how these are different iterations of a human being going through divine timing, just following their joy, and it compounds and it stacks into different types of performances, right? We would never be confused about this. Okay, now in the man-made one, a man-made blueprint, let's say instead Labyrinth decided to go to school and learn how to sing and go to a program, and that program said, after that you can go into like opera or something like that, or do this thing with the school, but you should really stay away from, just really focus on music, just focus on music only, okay? Just focus on music. Don't go into dance. If you spend your time doing dance, that's less time doing music, and you'll have missed your window of opportunity to make it big. So just focus on music, focus on music, focus on music, focus on music. This isn't going to happen. He's going to feel stuck in his career. Does that make sense to you? Someone who follows their joy, like Ray, seemed like she wasn't that big, even though she'd been doing a lot of stuff in the industry until she came out with that Hans Zimmer song or something like that. I can't remember what her breakout thing was. Was it Earth? I don't remember. But she had been really well known behind the scenes. She's a great artist. Okay, and then eventually she comes and she makes it onto the concert stage. If she had just listened and did the thing that she originally did, instead of going throughout and picking up different things from different industries and working with different producers behind the scenes, she wouldn't be the Ray that you see now. Okay, she'd just be stuck in a circle somewhere as somebody who could have been. In publishing, we call this mid-listers. These are people who write books in the same category around the same thing. They're following formulaic blueprints and stuff like that. And then depending on whether or not they can be easy sells to publishers, they will be bought, but they'll never progress in their careers, and they tend to get very frustrated and stagnant because they're not seeing the success that they want, but that's because they're doing a man-made blueprint. They have external validations that they're seeking, something that they want, right? Versus following their joy. So following divine timing is difficult because it's not a blueprint, and you've been told that a blueprint to success looks a certain way and you get certain things, but that's a lie. Every person that you've probably seen be successful in something following a blueprint was most likely a Nepo baby, and the Nepo baby is selling you their blueprint but without their parents or all of their networks and connections, right? So it's like testimony without all of the truth to it. Or sometimes people do tell you the full truth, and you don't know what they're telling you because you're unable to see from their perspective, see their culture, see their conditioning. You just see yourself and what you want, and you're just trying to get and extrapolate the information, but it doesn't work for you fully because you're trying to control your own success. You want it so bad, you want to get somewhere, do something so bad that you think you can, and if you could, you'd already be there. You wouldn't be where you are right now. The version of you that's trying really hard sucks and has to let go so that the version of you that's really good at it can do the thing, but it can't do this thing if you refuse to follow it. And so it's saying follow your joy, and every time you move away from joy and towards fears, you're taking control and taking the wheel and driving into hell, and your soul's like, all right, bitch, wake me up when you're done. And then you feel abandoned, and you feel like something's gone wrong, and no one listens, and God's not there anymore, and maybe all this shit's bullshit, and you're stuck in the mundane, and maybe you should get a 9-to-5, but no one's hiring you, so maybe you'll work at the gas station until you can get something else, and why is life so hard, and this, that, and the other. And then you find out that someone else who is in your exact same position went overseas, and they had this miraculous fucking journey, and you're like, why not me? The difference is divine timing versus this. Divine timing has ups and downs and the whole journey stuff you learn, this, that. When you give yourself over to this, rather than focusing on both of these at the same time, a lot of people say, I wish I wouldn't have gotten yellow. My bad, y'all. How many people do this? Plan A, plan B. I'll just have 2 plans. How many people say, how many times have you heard this? Don't put all your, I'm going to see if you guys can finish it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. No, instead, have about 5 baskets going, right? 5 different plans going for your 5 different eggs and carry around them 5 different baskets, you're guaranteed not to drop not one egg, right? If you, let's see, we go 4 different baskets. And when you put all your eggs in 4 different baskets, come up with 4 different plans, and we'll see if divine timing works. But in the meantime, let's spend all of our energy that we were supposed to use doing this, building out multiple plans that for sure are going to work this time. For sure. They didn't work the 17, other motherfucking times that you did. Divine timing always wins. In other words, divine timing will always win out every single time, because divine timing doesn't give a fuck about a man-made plan. Hell, there are plenty of people in the middle of disasters right now that can tell you that even carefully laid plans that seem foolproof cannot account for a massive spiritual awakening. They can't account for the small things that happen that kind of ruin them. So divine timing, it's difficult to trust because you're trying to do 2 things at one time. You're trying to have divine planning, and you're also trying to control. And so every time the divine stuff is trying to take over, it looks like it's sabotaging your schedule and your plan. If you're like, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I have this whole schedule, this whole thing built out for my road to success. You cannot build your schedule and your road to success until after you've succeeded, and then you look back at the road that you took, and then you map out the road. But if you're trying to map it while you go, that's okay, but you can't get ahead of yourself. But when you map things as you go, you start to feel the urgency to get ahead of yourself because you like the idea of having a map and the control of having a map. So oftentimes you're asked to put the map away and just to become present in the real world. Whenever you start feeling like you need to access control, get present. Get present. Get into your body. Your mind is trying to override time. Speed things up, do this, sabotage everything you fucking did. Everything you do while you're supposed to be resting is something you're going to have to undo before you can move forward. So whenever you're done finally taking some rest, which probably wouldn't be the full amount of rest that you need because you're too busy trying to control shit, you then have to spend all the little bit of energy you just got undoing all the fuck shit you did, and you don't have the energy for the divine timing, so now you've got to go rest so that you can do divine timing. But as you start resting and your energy starts coming in and you start feeling behind, you then start grasping for, you see the cycle where you try to grasp for control by getting yourself out of the rest state to go make something happen, because you're like, well, nothing's coming to me, so I'm the one who has to make it. No, that's why I said the artist way. It's going to force you guys to sit with yourself a lot longer than you're comfortable with, and that's what you need. So being so bad that they don't realize it's obvious. The acting bad. The parody movie. So yeah, about the Scorpio energy, when people start acting like they're not dissociated, or they're not, all of a sudden switching shit up all of a sudden, and it's really fucking obvious. Yeah, the only thing to do at those moments is to totally pull back your energy, regardless of how it appears to everyone else. You just pull back your energy. It will always work out for you. Because when other people start acting weird and shit like that, other people might not notice, and it's not for you to bring attention to it for others. It's for you to completely remove your energy, and then when shit hits the fan, everybody remembers how you moved and why, and that also gives them the courage necessary. Pluto, Scorpio, power. It gives other people the feel empowered to also act because you did. That's why Scorpio is also ruled by Mars, because Mars is a leader. He's just the leader in the underworld. He removes, or he gives, or he removes his presence. That's Mars's power in Scorpio. Presence. Either I am, or you don't even get I'm not, because I'm not even there. You get silence. You get the emptiness, the absence of me, which still has me in it. Right? Because sometimes you guys know when you've ever dealt with some bullshit, and like you're not part of it anymore, but you're like, people are still bringing you up and stuff. People are still thinking about shit, or people still have to like figure their own shit out. Your absence is there. Your absence counts differently than your presence. If you're still there presently doing this, that, your energy is still there. But the absence of your energy is a very unique kind of presence. It's like having a ghost, a haunting. Okay, people are haunted now instead of actively interacting, and that haunting causes a reflection. Yeah, that's why everybody's like, you're a witch, you're a witch, you're popping up in my dreams and this and that. Or other people are now coming at me and they're saying things you did. It's because you're a witch. No, they're haunted by themselves. They're haunted by the absence. You're no longer there to shield them from all of their folly. That's all. So with heavy Pisces placement, Scorpio moon feels amazing to me. I always feel like I'm swimming through clear water. Always comes with some internal insight and forces me to swim to the black zone. The emotions get deep, but the pressure of the depth in a way molds me into a whole new person by the time I come up again. Isn't it beautiful? Pisces tend to have very beautiful experiences in water signs because nothing is as turbulent as a Pisces. Like a water, you know what I'm saying? Like nothing's as deep as that. And so it feels probably fresh. Oh, girl, would it hurt my damn feeling? Oh my God, I've had to leave programs with women and men like that. The men are crazy too. Oh, we were talking about the physics, weren't we? But specifically amongst women, I've been friends with, surrounded by that, and they also pick up on the women more too. But they were just so damn good at their job, and that's why that made me sad about modern STEM environments. I was around robotics programs as a high schooler, and when I took a step back, I was like, who is going to save all these autistic children from this repetitive abuse? Yeah, it's a very abusive space. The women get like the worst abuse in STEM, and like their repression of it still comes out in other ways. And yeah, it's a mess. It's a huge mess, and it's hard too. But the only way for it to get to be reworked is through the collapse of it, because we read Braiding Sweetgrass, and that's far more of a healthy approach to STEM, is through theory and philosophy, grounding first, and through awareness and shit like that. So the whole other STEM subject, all of it's crashing right now. I mean, all the scientists are showing up dead, or they're either killing themselves, showing up dead because like they're in perilous situations with, I guess, agents that would harm them. And then you have that's in a matrix in itself, by the way. The thing about it is like they're very much sure that they are disclosing stuff. Like you guys have to understand that STEM is in a very odd matrix where they are both discovering the spiritual realm and totally oblivious to it. So they have no grounding whatsoever. They're up here in the spiritual space. They are stuck in, like, that's why New Age comes off and it has that weird feeling to it, or it sometimes evokes fear or strange paranoia or any type of conspiracy. Spirituality shouldn't give you all of that, if that makes sense. Not if you're a working practitioner in it in the field. Maybe if you were a layman, like an average person who doesn't really know too much about spirituality, you're still getting kind of used to the mundane world and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, you can feel superstitious about it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really know too much. You're pretty illiterate about it. But, like, scientists shouldn't be illiterate about the field in which they spend time and study, and also metacognition, because there's so much information about that in other fields. Get what I'm saying? Like, the field of science has enough answers that the scientists, they all lock themselves into separate cells and boxes, and they don't talk across to each other. And that's due to the suppression of feminine energy, which is the communicative aspect and the weaving together of all of these intelligences that they've been able to measure. But they have all these intelligences, none of it's been weaved together. So it's like giving birth to a baby that has about 50 different fucking brains or heads. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a monster. They've created this like egregore that's like a hydra. It's many-headed, but it's also unconscious, and it's also brilliant. And that's kind of like how they, like their experience with AI. To me, as a Venus, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to judge anything. I see the beauty in ugly, but also, why don't we just like stitch these things together? So in my head, right, their hydra in my environment isn't a hydra. It's a multifaceted being with one face that can change its face in many different times. But see, that comes from me weaving together all of this information. Is I have it births in my reality as, like, say, an AI agent, right? Like Jarvis or something that you can talk to. And it's multifaceted. Whereas in New Age and in the science space, it's an abomination because they're not a community that can birth something like this, something spiritual like this. It requires spiritual intelligence, and they work against that all the time. So it's a very sad situation. That's why, on the one hand, it's vindicating, because as a Black Indigenous woman, I'm sitting here like, well, hate to say I told you so, but Jesus fucking Christ. And on the other hand, that's no prize, watching other people slowly deteriorate before you. You know what I'm saying? Like watching entire cultures and like huge swaths of populations like slowly deteriorate in brain function because they've locked themselves into mental prisons. Like it's psychologically disturbing. And then to know that most people won't even come to notice that until so much time has passed, because how many people are really paying attention, you know what I mean, and have the ability to. I mean, I'm here and I've seen other people talking about it. There's a lot of us talking about it, but like it's still just us, you know what I mean? It's not mainstream information. We're very much on the outskirts here, and I like to keep it that way, to be totally honest. But I'm an Aries rising. I always stay on the outskirts. Arcane was the best. Learning how to sleep is really different for me. I'm an Aries too. Yeah, it's rough sometimes. No, because the modern day equivalent to medieval robbery. I know, having money come out of my account all crazy. Ugh. Okay. Learning farmers market or something. I need to print this out. Okay, my journal today is that would low-key sketching feelings, but this would say, if it does, like that. So funny, I'm a Scorpio. None of my friends has ever met my family. Yeah, I see. I know that you're a Scorpio. None of your friends have met your family. Yeah, we know. We know. It's not on purpose either. It's just a separation, right? Like, yeah, people will meet your family when it's necessary. It's just rarely is it necessary. But other people find it suspicious because it's part of their socializing and social conditioning to just do those things and check off those boxes. But we don't check things off arbitrarily. Scorpio energy says absolutely the fuck not. Our Scorpio energy, funny enough, is very rule-based. It's just nobody understands the rules because most people are constantly breaking them or following arbitrary rules, or they don't understand about capriciousness and stuff like that. Like, we don't do hot and cold. Like, 1 minute we do this, 1 minute we don't do that. No, Scorpio says be pure, know the truth. Scorpio energy is Hades. You get what I'm saying? He is the king of the underworld, which means he's the ruler of all, both the non-real and the real reality, technically, because the real reality is shaped by what's not real. Get what I'm saying? Hades was like the smart brother. I think he was the firstborn, maybe. I think it depends, but he's the smart one. He gave Zeus, the real world, sure, and Neptune has the all the things that combine the world, sure, but Hades rules over what is and what isn't, and what combines it, because all of that is the non-material realities. You see what I'm saying? That's power. That's why as Pluto moves through things, the whole society falls apart. Pluto moved into Aquarius, and now look at us. I'm laughing because it's funny. You know what I mean? But like what happens when the sun moves? Nothing. What you get a little irritated a little bit here and there. Pluto moves and you lose your whole fucking life and your family and everything, and you come out a new person. That's just how he is. You see what I'm saying? That's power. And so, yeah, it's very rule-based, funny enough, all that power. That's why Pluto and Libra, the Venus and Libra, go really well together, and why they are star-crossed lovers, and are also represent the divine union between Mars and Venus. That Scorpio, Taurus, Scorpio, Libra energy, like that. And when you think about it, Mars, Venus, Aries, Taurus, Libra, Scorpio, Mars, or Venus, Mars, like they do a little flip too. Because justice, rule-based law comes before the verdict, the executioner, the alchemist, the one that rebirths and transforms everything. So Pluto is very law-based because he follows the law of Venus. Whatever she says, he does. That's how, if she says, put it in the fire, he burns that bitch until it's pure again. And then hands it to her and is like, how's that, hun? And she goes, I like it. It's good enough. And that's why Persephone is scarier than Pluto. Anyways, so that's funny. I'm sorry, yeah. I low-key have been going over past scenarios that I feel similarly and it's supposedly very random. So if you're re-going over scenarios and stuff in your mind, just stop and ask if this memory being pulled up inviting you or helping you understand something. Is there clarity to be gained, right? Who were you when this happened? What were your belief systems? When you start asking things like that, it releases your emotional attachment to the memory, because you're now becoming the observer, and that helps ease the storm. As the storm's going on around you, you move away from it and into the center, where you can sit down with your popcorn and be like, I wonder why this surfaced. What's going on? Right? And then I'm telling you, gems come out. Gems come out of all of these things. Scorpio energy will never leave you without a treasure unless you use it to manipulate things. This is why we don't want to ruminate in this energy. When you ruminate in the energy and you try to take control or manipulate things, you're getting stuck in the cave of wonders. The tiger is going to fucking eat you because it's not yours. Take your hands off that shit. That's how it treats you. I made the connection later. He low-key discriminated against me, but I was like, weirdo who found a way to have everyone touching his weird religious culty object. Oh my goodness, maybe that's the teacher, the professor. Scorpio new moon really came with the heat, and I spent all day spiraling to the point where I had to take a nap, and then when I woke up, I signed onto this live, and woof, right on time. Yeah, same. Grateful for these messages. I'm so glad. What a great way to end the evening. I'm so glad. I've been revisiting memories from when I was a child and picking up nuggets. It's been so interesting. And I'm telling you, it's the best way to see. And that's the thing. That's where the magic happens. You see, where you just sit and you go through and you pick up that stuff, and it appears like you did nothing. You went into the underworld. You went and you investigated. You're doing some Alice in Wonderland shit. You get what I'm saying? Shit was topsy-turvy. You dodged all sorts of weird scripts that probably tried to keep you trapped into some strange loop, because your brain, no offense, but it does not want you just changing things. You're kind of an idiot. You get what I mean? If I could lobotomize myself for 5 minutes so that I don't have to, like, I don't know, think about the things that I have to do sometimes, or be responsible, and I could just play this, that, and the other. Do you know how often I would be tempted to be like, if I could just turn it off, and then I just somehow turn it back on. And then I turn it off, only to realize that the idiot who turned it off isn't smart enough to figure out how to turn it on, because you were an idiot who turned it off, and now it's off. So you're dumber than the idiot who turned it off. How could you ever turn it back on? That's what your soul is saying every time you try, to like, to control anything. You know what I mean? Your soul is like, no. Don't give them the option to turn things off. Your brain is like, this is how we do things. Why are you fiddling? Why do you think you know more? Do you have evidence? Do you know how long we've done it this way and how much evidence we have to why we do it this way? Your brain does all that, and it's important for you to be like, listen, I'm just here to observe. So you can detach from the bias and then go, well, what? And when you can present to your brain a better solution, your brain immediately goes, I like that better. Drops the old shit, and it's like it never existed. Like it never existed. Mayim Bialik podcast seems like she's trying to bridge the bridge, and you follow your sun sign more than rising. It depends. I don't follow anything. I just notice. So for instance, if I'm being very fiery, I notice I'm fiery because of my rising sign. If I realize that my intelligence seems to be quicker, oftentimes I move fast, I'm highly strategic, and I can navigate like local manifestations easily. So manifesting things in my local. So for instance, if I'm, anytime I want something and it's not in my area, somehow something opens up that's in my area. Like eventually it'll be there, and I'll be like, I always wanted this. Now it's here. Like stuff like that, and that happens to me no matter where I go in the world. It happens. So when things like that, I'm manifesting in my local, I'm coming in contact with something somehow, or because I have a wish here, a mental wish, it can be depending on some like things, right? Like everyone else in the area, and whether it has the ability to be manifested. It either does or it doesn't. So I notice that that's because my Mars is in Gemini. And so I tend to do a lot of movement, and every move that I make and how much I impact things changes my local environment, because I input frameworks that didn't exist previously, and now that they do, the energy can run through them differently. But you see, I don't necessarily follow my Mars in Gemini. I don't follow my Aries. I don't follow my sun sign. I'm a Taurus naturally. So therefore, like you see, what you guys see is what you get. I show up as comfortable as I can because I feel like it. I make videos from my bed because I feel like it. You know what I'm saying? I also have a lot of opposing Scorpio and Pluto stuff to all of my Taurus stuff. So I come across a lot as both extremely transparent and extremely mysterious. Like when people really think about it, they realize that they don't really know too much about me. It unnerves people sometimes. They'll go from thinking they know everything about me because it appears because I talk a lot, and because I talk a lot and I talk about a lot of different things and I don't hide stuff, it appears that I'm very open. But the moment people try to like reach for things, like reach for some information for some reason, it disappears. And it's because there's nothing to reach. And yeah, it's like because my Venus is in Taurus, so everything I do is an equal exchange all the time. I have a lot of Libra energy, not because there's any planets there, but because I work very closely with my Venus sign, meaning I upgrade it and I nurture my Venus energy. I'm devoted to myself. I love on myself. I'm very creative. I nourish my garden, right? I care about that sort of a thing. I pay attention to how my body feels and feeling good and following my joy and valuing myself. So because of that, I have a very strong relationship with Venus. I have a strong relationship with Venus and Taurus. And also, it makes it easier for me to navigate the lessons of Libra, which is energy exchange, right? How do I practice being perceived or not? I used to have a harder time with that than I did just being myself, Aries and Taurus energy. How I was perceived? Oh, man. It's hot and cold. Either I didn't give a fuck because I'm in Mars Aries energy, or I care an awful lot because I'm super empathetic, and Sun, Venus, and Mercury and Taurus. Get what I'm saying? So it's like there's a lot of energy there. I don't follow anything. I just am. And I just take note of those things and where they come up. So that way, when there's a problem, like if I have a problem with discernment where I'm like, I don't really know what this relationship means to me, I can go circle that and be like, Venus Libra problem. How else is that showing up in my life? Why am I all of a sudden feeling that way? What am I out of balance with? Like, what is going on, right? What's going on in my, why am I spending time in my mental space even thinking about relationships? What's going on here? Am I being creative enough? Am I ignoring any of my own creative potential? You get what I'm saying? I'm seeing that I'm having a Venus issue all of a sudden. Why? That's my next question. So and just asking why releases me from the issue, and now I'm in the circuit or the channel of Venus, and I can go and look at those domains. Am I fixated on a role? Am I confused about who and what role I play? Yeah. Oh, I don't know what role I play. Am I enjoying myself in this relationship? There are things I enjoy about it, but it seems like it's like, because there are things I enjoy about it, I keep it around instead of being like, yes, I enjoy myself. Because if I really enjoyed myself, I probably wouldn't be thinking about whether I'm enjoying myself. I would just be thinking about the things that I enjoy with this person. You see? So somebody said lobotomizing sage style from The Boys. Listen, I saw The Boys, and I think I almost finished the last season. I don't think I saw the rest of it. I need to finish watching, but I feel like I know what you're talking about. That's just unhinged. But yeah, like that's the deal. There is like I don't follow any one sign. I just am, so that way I can navigate and work through my own any flow breaks that I'm having. I know what's breaking the flow, and then I can adjust it really quickly. So I have Libra, Venus, Aquarius, Moon, Scorpio, Sun and Taurus rising. I'm new to all of this, but everything is past week has been so aligned, sort of scary. I feel a rebirth coming on change. I can't pinpoint, but I feel the knowing it. My logical brain is like, what is going on? Yeah, of course you're probably like, what's going on? Most likely it's been all this Uranus energy. You know what I'm saying? It's kicking up in the air, especially. And by that, I just mean your air body. Okay, so your air body, your mental, everything that goes on, your mental thoughts, ideas, how you think, what you think about, how you process your emotions, like the story that you make about how you feel. All of that stuff is being kicked up right now. Your imagination, how you envision the future, and also how you navigate relationships. All that stuff got kicked up in the air because Pluto, the moon was in Libra, so this week, so that's throwing, and then Gemini is in our Uranus is in Gemini, and I think isn't Venus in Gemini right now? I think, next to Uranus. So all that energy created like a trine. You got a conjunction down there too. There's a lot that's like, it's a very good energy for sure. So it means like while you're confused, you are also being supported. Okay, so during those times, put in the work of sitting with yourself and really just like seeing what it's about, just letting yourself feel. You know, you don't have to be like, what is going on? Let me figure out. Just, you feel a bit of that tinge of fear of like, oh my goodness, all of this stuff, it's starting to stack up. Imagine you're in a fantasy book. You know what I'm saying? Get curious. Be a child again and just sit in it. Whoa, get curious. Being a child doesn't mean you go, oh, this is fun, and like lollipops and shit. Children are incredibly analytical and curious, and they ask a lot of questions. They don't believe shit unless they see it. And if they do believe it, right, they want proof. You get what I'm saying? Like, so then they're, but not proof like proof that it's real. They want to discover. Proof says, show me, you do it. The true child, not maybe today's iPad children, but the true child at heart says, I want to discover that. I want to go on the journey. And if you say, well, you got to go and you got to do all this stuff, they're ready to go and do all that stuff. They're not going to be like, oh my God, can I DoorDash it? You know what I mean? Maybe the child of today's technological age, but you know, that's about it. Okay, everybody. I think that's about it for tonight. We're running in late on time. Let me see in the TikTok comments really quick if I see anything. What does it mean to disassociate while doing something and then doing things for you? I feel like I'm inside Galaxy listening to what you're saying. Oh, okay. I think I understand what you mean. Hold on. Oh, yeah, and Kaz, I see what you said, that you were a STEM-tracked kid, but then you went to art and you do STEM for fun. That was me, too. That's why I study science for research purposes, but not, like, I don't want to be around the community. They are extremely troubled right now. Like, a lot of them are really having to go deep, and, like, even their media has turned a bit disturbing. Like, I'm really concerned about the mental health aspect of a lot of scientists in the STEM field right now, because they're coming to the end. Like, you have to imagine you spend your whole life learning and studying about and being told that you are on the precipice of discovering the future, only to be told that you were actually digging into a circle in 1984, most likely, where the government gave you only a little bit of information, told you it was all the information, and you have been in a cog in a system. Like, a lot of them don't even understand that they were in a pipeline from university to government subsidy programs for comparative advantage in the global market. So a lot of them, they went into school and they went into studying plastics and recycling and biodegradable stuff and all these types of things in order to aid corporations so that they can make more profit off of every bit of their product and production, right, cycle, not to actually help the environment, which is why a lot of them were writing things and they were like, what the fuck, the environment's terrible, and we just keep studying about how it's terrible and know how to fix it, and that doesn't actually happen. And then we do more studies and we do this and we do this and we do this and we try to do this, and we don't know what to do, and so we'll force individual people to make changes that only corporations can make, because the corporations that we've been conditioned to work for, even if they don't work for corporations and they work like for nonprofits, they're still working in the corporate world and to counteract corporations, you know what I'm saying? And so they didn't know all of that. That's a lot. You get what I'm saying? The only people who really could see that that was happening were like economists, who have no incentive to tell the scientists that they are living in a bubble. Nobody had incentive to tell the little neurodivergent scientists, white boys specifically, that they're living in a bubble. Do you know what happens when you burst Bubble Boy's bubble? Yeah, he doesn't do too well. He goes postal. So, and nonetheless, what other incentive is there to tell the scientist that he's being used to make everything else work, when he's probably a antisocial nerd who lacks social skills to even have that conversation? That's why he's not even at the parties where those conversations are being had. Right? He's the butt of the joke, the nerd who eventually will own everybody, but then he didn't go into tech, so that's not him. He went to engineering because he just wanted to sit with numbers and build stuff, not talk to people. So who's informing any of those people of the structure that they're working in? Black women, but they didn't listen to them. Okay. Let me look at what this comments say. Oh, speaking on Ray, do you have a take on why the music industry is kind of sucky these past few years? Well, that's just because it's redundant. It's only sucky. I'll say this: go on Spotify and just listen to music that you enjoy, and let their algorithm take you to different stuff. And then go on TikTok and really interact and like music from independent artists that are just putting their stuff out there. So this means people singing in their bathrooms, just for fun, like people who are in choruses or, in choirs and stuff, people who are play instruments, people who produce and make music, people who say, you found on a weird side of TikTok that makes jazz that's mixed with Chinese traditional music and Afro punk. Here you go. Like shit like that. And people who do strange concerts in public spaces, and that will help get you new music and get you attached to new types of musicians. And when you start adding their stuff, then the algorithm will pull you out of popular mainstream things and into it'll treat you just like on TikTok, where you're in mainstream stuff, and then the more you start interacting, the more you get into the niche stuff that actually represents your listening, because Spotify wants to keep you on their platform, so they want to keep you listening to music. They want to keep you putting that shit in their background, and if they play stuff you're not interested in, you're going to pop off of it. You know what I'm saying? So they have incentive to match your style, but you have to put the work in of getting the weird shit that you enjoy, the off the cuff stuff, and just liking that and putting in your like folder and making weird playlists of just stuff that really vibes with you. Oh, it's a beautiful lie. Like I have 30 Seconds to Mars on here right now. Perfect denial. And you guys know I've been listening to all sorts of weird shit. I had jazz playing just a little bit earlier. Now I've got 30 Seconds to Mars. You know what I'm saying? Like, that in itself tells my algorithm when I'm listening to certain things that I surprise me. And when stuff starts to get too similar, I leave the platform and I just leave for a little while. What's the correlation to 1984? I just re-listened to The World, and it feels like that's what's happening. Well, yeah, 1984 is essentially America, to be totally honest. Like, when George Orwell wrote 1984, he was writing about British socialism. He wasn't writing about communism or communist or anything like that. He was actually writing about his own socialist party, because he was saying we're more fascist than we think. And it was because everybody rewrites history. The British Empire was doing that all the time. Doyle had written Sherlock Holmes, the author of Sherlock Holmes. He had written, this is way back before World War One. The reason why he's Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was because he had written an entire book on the Boer War, which was when this English were down, I think in South Africa maybe, or in the Cape Cod or some area like that. Anyways, they were doing some real fucked up shit over in Africa, and he wrote all about it as, I think, a writer, but also he was in the medical field. He had worked in or studied in like pharmacology and chemistry and all that stuff. Sherlock Holmes was actually based off a professor that he admired. But he wrote all of that, and then, but by the time he got back, tried to get, was writing Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that, and then World War One happened, and then he watched everyone lose their minds. He watched it all in real time, and then he started getting into spirituality and trying to understand it from a scientific point and stuff like that, with true curiosity and stuff, and he wrote all sorts of things. I read a short nonfiction piece, an essay called Revelations, I think, or Reflections, I think it's Revelations, that he wrote, and it was about his experience during the time of documenting what was going on with people. They were connecting with their dead sons, and he was like, the roosters have come home to roost. It's very clear that what happens out, away from us, it also impacts us here, but the impact was not being measured, because it seemed like there was no correlation to people who weren't paying attention. But if you were just paying attention, it was a direct correlation that their actions overseas caused direct harm to them at home. And he was one of the first, he really fell off the map in Britain when he started writing about spirituality, just the same way that Carl Jung fell off the map in Europe, and Freud took over, right? Freud was like, oh, they all just want to have sex with their parents. That's what's wrong with them. And Jung was like, no, I think there's an unconscious fabric to reality that everybody is completely being gaslit about. And because they have no tools to navigate this level of consciousness, and they're also being exposed to the toxic reality that is counterintuitive to the subconscious world, they're having mental breakdowns. And they were like, anyways, what is it about wanting to have sex with our parents? I do feel like that's something that's going on with me. And that was a really weird response to me. You know what I'm saying? That people went with Freud's perspective on things rather than Carl Jung's. They were like, I'd rather think that my problem is I have sexual tension, which speaks to the culture too at the time, that like people related to that. But then James Barrie, we've got him right. Anyways, I'm not going to bring up Peter Pan again. But the point is that there was a lot going on at that time period. So then after World War II, you have to see it from a white man's perspective, who's also British, right, and who has privileges. He's seeing like and this is what happens every single time. There's always the white men in this space who believe in everything until something happens, and then they start asking questions, and because they're intelligent, they realize the bullshit, and they know the bullshit because they're kind of aware of bullshit to begin with. Okay, you don't get to be as privileged in a system and everything go your way, and you just have to play the right roles. People coach them. Their mothers, women in this space, they coach them all the time because those particular women want those men to go on to be successful so that they can benefit, because that's usually the only route that women, especially we're thinking like World War II, most women can't even vote at this point. You get what I'm saying? Let alone have a bank. I don't know when women in England could start voting, but they bank accounts, owned land and property. These are all contentious topics. Okay, women are still very much conditioned to be in a gender and all that kind of stuff. And then when you think about colonial white women specifically, they're definitely in a fucking box. You know what I mean? Like, they have nothing but white men, and quote unquote their inferiors, and their inferiors aren't going to help uplift them in life, when the only thing that they want to be uplifted in life over is the men that oppress them. So naturally they coach these men, especially the ones that they think have good heads and good hearts, and the ones that can be the true leader. Everybody always wants to give, and this is the sentimentalism, is I want to give my virtue to you and all of my power to you to do the right thing so that you can lead us, because you're the next Jesus. White man, save me. That's usually like the kind of mental loop that goes on in these people's heads. And so these white men, they're very much aware of these women who are constantly trying to groom them for something. They're very much aware of the men who are an abhorrence to society. They're very much aware of the men that they idolize and that they admire and their faults. They're aware of all of this stuff, and they come to a crossroads and they have to make a choice. Either you conquer or you get fucked up and become whatever it is that becomes of the men who don't win. And they have plenty of examples of that. And usually for white men, it's something like, they just can't do in society. They become emasculated in some way. They don't exactly get lumped in with the quote unquote inferiors. So, that's where a lot of these men were standing. So Orwell is no different. Okay. He was fighting in, I think, Spain and stuff. He just spent a stint with the Spanish fascists. So it would be easy for him to see fascism because he was sitting in the middle of it. So then when he came back to the UK and saw that in the Socialist Party, so this is the progressive party, he was writing 1984 about them, about how they were trying to rewrite things, newspeak, the bourgeoisie, ignore the past, all of that kind of stuff. They were building a global market and pretending like China was the devil, and is China like the devil? I mean, we're talking about billions of people and a ruler who rules over them, and emperors and stuff like that. Like, it's way more complicated than they're bad, we go to war against them because they hate freedom. It's way more complicated than that. For instance, it's more like looking in a mirror than anything. They just came about navigating the same fucked up shit a little bit differently, but they're still navigating capitalism, which is a white ideology, right? You get what I'm saying? And white, again, is not an ethnicity, nor is it in culture. It is an ideology, a philosophy. And if you wanted to participate in the global market, I feel like I am explaining the whole world right now. If you want to participate in the global market, then at that time you had to participate through white ideology. There was the only way, because it was a global market made up of colonial powers and imperial powers, So, with all that in mind, George Orwell was like, and he wrote a book about it, and people were like, that couldn't happen here. And he's like, it already is happening. Right? And so now in 2026, it's like it already is happening, but don't worry. It's not that it's happening. This is so usual that people have been complaining about this, talking about this, going back and forth about this, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, since the invention of America in 1776, when they decided to go solo from Britain, the Americans have been doing it. Before then, the British have been doing it since before then. Okay, it's a circle. It's a circle. Every time the circle stops, it starts again. There is no rebirth. There is no this. So that's why the fear of, oh my God, it's happening. No, George Orwell just showed you what is, what has been, and what will be for the people who don't break out of it, for sure, right? But like, here we are having this conversation, which is the antithesis of 1984. Not because we're doing something. No, we're just in a different dimension. We're in a different dimension. It's not a secret dimension. The thing that I'm doing has been done consistently throughout time as well. If that makes sense. Like nothing that we are doing right now is new, nor does it mean anything. It's just a matter of, do you want to be in alignment with your life, or do you want to get caught up in a story and play a role in all of that, and then wake up at the end of it and realize that you got God again? It's really what it's like. The soul just reincarnates. You become different people, and sometimes you get got in the big story. It's like the big lie, right? In many different cultures, they call it something else, because every society has a fog, right, that happens of unconscious people, and either you slip into unconsciousness and you live in that dream, and then at your death, you wake up and you go, oh my God, none of that was real. It's like when, when people die and or before they die and they look up and they realize that nobody that they thought was going to be there is there. And then they feel like sunken, that their whole life, if you go to nursing homes, I'm sure that you get more of this than like if you were to go to someone's home, right? But where people, they realize that all of the energy that they poured into all these people, and nobody remembers them, nobody thinks about them, nobody calls to check up on them, nobody goes. But they played this role. They had a family, they had a whole thing. They played a whole role, and the whole time people laughed at the role. People laughed, oh, you know them, right? People entertained the role, but that wasn't true connection. True connection comes from divine timing. Divine timing means that you're going to connect with all sorts of people all throughout the world. Something like, yes, your mother birthed you, you have a family, kinship is important and all that kind of stuff. And divine timing happens within your kinship groups. But also for some people, it takes you outside of those groups and into other spaces and places, and your timing. I mean, imagine if this, of all of what I'm doing, only subsided inside of my 4-family home between my husband and my 2 kids, and I didn't share anything. The rest of you can probably piece together information or find it from someone else, but you're not going to find what no one's going to do and say exactly what I say and do. And for whatever reason, that really clicks for you, right? But imagine it clicks for you, and then I go, well, I'm just going to go play a game called life where I fuss over my children because I'm a mommy. Right? And then that fussing over children becomes like manipulating and controlling them and trying to figure out who their wives are going to be. And you can only have wives, boys, because that's what good men do. Right? And then just having a wife isn't even good enough. They have to have a certain type of wife, right? This is 1984 all of a sudden. Now your partner gets picked for you. And then everybody watches to see whether you have kids or not. And then your kids spy on you, right? And then tell the school what's going on and whether or not you're a good citizen. And then you get called in, and the services come. That's the kind of the thing that 1984 was picking up on. But that's very much real in a lot of in white society or colonial society, because that's what he was talking about. It's like that's what is. He's just saying this is what is. And like, do you like that? And some people look at that and they get terrified, horrified. But you don't have to be. You're already living it. You don't have to be terrified. You have just been informed. But once the terror settles, right, and you just let it swirl around, then you can do something else. You have just been woken up so you can do something else. Otherwise, what's terrifying is staying asleep in that, because it means that you will come to that end where none of it was real, and you finally die and you wake up and you realize you wasted your entire life and you didn't get any of the stuff that you came here to do done. It's like going to the grocery store and coming home with nothing on your list except for fucking carrots. You know what I mean? And everything else is junk that you didn't mean to get. Or you did get it, meant something to you while you were at the store, but by the time you got home, none of it's like stuff that you can eat or make a meal with. It made sense while you were there. They sold you on stuff, but you left with what you have, right? Okay. Last question. So that's the 1984 aspect, if that makes sense. And the reason why I mentioned that before was just kind of I forgot what I was saying, but it's I was mentioning the motif, the energy of it. Okay, so what does it mean to dissociate while doing something and then doing things bore you? I don't know what that means necessarily. But when you dissociate while you're doing stuff, it just means that you're going out of your body. You're doing something mechanical or something that you can do so easily that you aren't thinking about it. And so, since you're not thinking about it, you're able to put your mind elsewhere. So, this can be actually very meditative if done correctly. Meaning, I'll do dishes and I put on my headphones and I'll think about the books that I'm writing, or I'll be in conversation with a character or something like that, channeling, or I'll be thinking about if I have a question that came up in my mind, I'll just like throw the question up in my mind and let it see where it goes, right? I just become the observer of how those thoughts are moving. And if I get inspired, then, yay. If not, whatever. And then doing things that bore you. I don't know what that means, but if you do something and you're bored, right, stop and go follow your joy. Sometimes if you're bored, you need to move your body. So go outside and lay down, touch grass. Be bored outside, in other words, unless it's uncomfortable. The point is to get into a space that is as comfortable as you can be and just sit and let whatever discomfort you're feeling pass. Boredom doesn't always bring discomfort, but it can. If you're bored but you're not uncomfortable, you're just like, and then you start dissociating, and then like minutes go by and you're like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything. Relax. What's wrong with being like bored? You know what I mean? I'm saying that and I'm smiling. I'm sorry. I hate being bored most of the time. But I'm learning to just relinquish to it, right? Sometimes you just need to be present. And if you find your space to be uninspiring, let that inspire you to like make your home like look around and see what does inspire you, and if you aren't, what can you change, right? Like do you want to paint your walls? Can you paint your walls? Can you add pictures to your walls? Can you paint a picture to put on your wall? Can you challenge yourself in that sort of a way? You get what I'm saying? Like sometimes that's enough to spark interest in your general environment, to kind of help lower the amount of boredom that you experience, or lower the time that you experience it. Yes, a lot of them need to read The Dispossessed. Are you talking about The Scientist? Oh my goodness, I need to read The Dispossessed. That's by Ursula Le Guin. We're going to be reading one of her books, The Tale of Earthsea, for book club. Maybe we'll read The Dispossessed. We'll see. We're reading Tales and Earth Spins for Masculine Archetypes, because I think she covers them really well. Plus, she's always looking at the spiritual stuff in a way, and in frameworks and stuff like that I think might be pretty interesting. I have 1984 sitting on my shelf waiting to be read, but it sounds like Black Mirror of the 1990s. Funny enough, my partner, we were book reading 1984. I was listening to it, and I still have yet to completely finish it. And he laughs about that all the time. And every time I'm like, let's read something together, he's like, yeah, like 1984. How'd that go? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm still finishing it. My youngest, I'm still trying to finish Detective Beans. Every time like my oldest, he sends me videos. He'll be like, did you watch it yet? And I'm like, oh my God, when do I not watch stuff? And then my youngest will be like, well, you still haven't finished reading Detective Beans. And I'm like, I'm on page 47. He's like, yeah, you only read the first 47 pages. And I'm like, okay, guys, I get it. I'm going to complete these things eventually. But yeah, 1984. My attention waned on it for some reason. I'll skip back to it probably. It's been coming up lately, so I'll probably get back into it. The main character, oh man, can't stand half of the shit that he gets into. I got towards like the latter half of the book, where the plot just kind of like finishes up, but a lot of the philosophical like setting and everything has been placed. It just gets into the plot and stuff like that, and I kind of lost interest for a little bit. I think Andrew Scott narrates it. He's an uncle. Oh, an incel. I was like, an uncle. I was like, of who? Of you? That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the main character, he's an incel, so it's really rough. It's really rough to like sit with, because it's like, man, your life is so fucking depressing. But that's kind of the nature. He's been conditioned to be that way, and that's kind of the point of the book, right? Is that. All right, everybody. I think that's it. This video is going to take forever to process. I can't stand it. I really wish that I had been able to put it up on or do the live on Patreon. I'm still gonna, for class, I'll send you guys the Zoom links. I think Zoom is better anyways. And I'm still gonna try to like keep the Patreon lives going so I don't have to double post or like, you know, upload videos, to like download, upload, all that kind of shit. But don't worry. I'm gonna send out links to the Zoom and stuff like that. It's always gonna be this link. So even if you want to save the link that you clicked on somehow, you can. It's always gonna be the same one. But I will send it out with every class just in case. So don't worry about trying to keep track of it. I think that's it. Send the links where. Oh, so Patreon. Yeah. So hi, Mila. You enjoy the Patreon. It's free. These are FAQ current events classes. These ones are free. Book club. If you need to take any of the classes. So let me turn this on really quick so you can see. If you need tools for consciousness, okay, because like we talk about current events where I discuss the astrology and the energies and all that kind of stuff, and that's really cool. That's free. But if you need tools for consciousness, you struggle with things like urgency, collapse, fixation, avoidance, things like that, like taking action, what role do you play, how you regulate, do you know when, timing and all that kind of stuff, and you hear anything and you're like, oh, that I need that. I have classes and stuff. You can join. It's $10 a month, and you can take the classes at your own free will. You can also purchase the classes, so you don't have to. I think they're like $10 or something. I don't remember how much they are. I was able to lower the prices on a lot of stuff because of Patreon sponsoring it. Well, it's not really sponsored. We were kind of partnered for a little bit. But because of that, I was able to reduce the prices on things. So I thought that was great. But yeah, you can take the classes. It's $10 a month. And that also includes discussion part of book club. Now, generally lectures are free and stuff like that. I do serialized content and some lectures on writing. And that's like $5 a month if you want to join the Midnight Library, where you can read and all that kind of stuff, the books that I'm working on and all of that, and any research stuff. So yeah, essentially, if you want to take classes, $10 a month. And if you want to participate in the discussion part of book club, $10 a month. Otherwise, everything else is for the most part free, including lectures like this. And I send you emails. Sometimes we do newsletters. I haven't done any newsletters in a little while. And I'm so glad. So yeah, it really works because you can just join and take classes when you need to, when you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like it's pretty, it's pretty easy. It's nice. I really enjoy the setup with Patreon. That's why the live thing frustrates me so well, because otherwise it's been a really great setup. It's really easy and accessible for everybody, and it's really asynchronistic. All of the filming for classes and stuff like that is over. Right now, we do a lot in book club. Okay, we read a lot over here, and I'm doing a lot of research, so I always bring that in, and I talk every week. I generally update you guys about some of the stuff that I'm doing, or at least you can probably hear the updates because I talk about crazy shit all the time, and I'll be like, yeah, and then I was reading this and blah 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 blah, right? It's very casual for the most part, but you know, we're always about learning. So yeah, join us at any point in time. Yeah, right now, let me turn this off because I can't see. I'm doing Metal and Magic over at the Midnight Scholar Society. Let me see. Yeah, Metal and Magic. I fucking love it. We're on part 2. You guys are about to meet one of my favorite. Yeah, I shouldn't tell you. You guys are about to meet the part after we get to part 2 is where everything gets really cool and interesting. And once that's done, I'm going to serialize Willow. And I got something really interesting cooking. I don't want to say too much because, you know, it's better to just do than to say. Yeah, I don't really do Substack emails, though, anymore, Kaz. At least not now. I can't technically. I'm with Patreon right now. And they prefer me to be monogamous, if you know what I mean. So thank you, I'm a member, and I've been so confused about the Zoom. Yeah, I only just recently started the Zoom, so don't worry at all. The Zoom thing has just started since book club because of all of the live issues. Otherwise, we used to do everything on live. But for some reason now, all of a sudden, OBS and live aren't talking to each other. Like, I have so many issues going on between me and that live. So I just moved to Zoom for simplicity, okay? So don't worry. The next email that you get, I didn't think the live was going to break down this time, so I didn't put, when I set up the email and stuff, I didn't put the Zoom link in. I didn't think we were going to do Zoom, but that was silly of me. But from now on, anytime a class is scheduled, you're going to get an email that says that there's a live, and it'll be live on Patreon, but you'll also get the Zoom link because that's where you'll be in class. I will not be paying attention to the Patreon. The Patreon will be for recording purposes only, but the Zoom link will be included so that you can actually go there to be on class. And that way you can see everything. We can screen share. Everything's nice and easy over here. Oh, how have you guys been enjoying the Zoom? I think Zoom's been nice. And then obviously it's easy for me to be on TikTok at the same time. Yeah, I think we finally found a nice little thing for now till we get the one that rules them all. Okay, that's it. I'm still standing. Yeah. Okay, I gotta go because I want to play games and I want to let free. I want to be me. I want to be me. I don't know what that means. Oh, it's the music. Okay, I need to go because now I'm still standing better than I ever did. This song, kicking like a true survivor, living like a little kid. Yeah, see, I this song gets me every time. Gets me. Okay, I gotta go, guys. That's it. I hope everybody had a great lesson today. Let me just figure out how do I. Yeah. Okay, how do I close this? I don't even know how to close this out. There we go. Okay, I gotta move this here. This is being transcribed. Thanks. Let's stop the screen share. There we go. Stop the recording. Bye. Okay, everybody. And then that's it for us. Everybody have a great night. And don't forget, rest. When in doubt, sit your ass down. Get a journal. Pour your feelings out. Take some time to breathe in your nose, out your nose, and down into the ground for longer than you inhale. Exhale longer than you inhale. Inhale using your diaphragm. Exhale down to the ground. And just sit. Do nothing. I don't care what you feel compelled to do, unless the issue is physically in front of you, in some way, shape, or form, an email per se, being like, oh my God, this is urgent. That is physical. It may be digital email, but it's a physical interaction, right? If it's just your thoughts and your emotions, please rest. Because it is an alert. Don't get fixated on the alert. Get curious to investigate. You can only investigate from a calm place. And calm doesn't mean you feel good. It means you're not doing anything, okay? And when you're not doing anything, you can differentiate between what is and what's not real. What is and what is not. And the only way you can do that is by being still enough, not shushing everything on the outside, meaning your thoughts, emotions, and whatever else is going on. No, your attention is still, not reactive, still. You are just receiving, not responding. I want you all to always think about, whenever you feel like that, think about when someone is angry at you or upset or frustrated or feeling any type of way, maybe towards you, towards something else. It doesn't really matter. Do you interrupt? Do you tell them to shut up and then you try to fix and do and do and do? Do you stop them? Or do you recognize that this is the moment where you listen? Oh, the card. I don't have a card of the day because I didn't do one of those FAQs, but you know what? I'll give you one because I have them right here, just for you. You get what I'm saying? So you just want to sit. You just want to sit, and you want to let the spirit that is currently trying to hijack your system and get you to do stuff, you want to just let, they're not actually trying to hijack. They're not actually trying to get you to do stuff. They just want to cry and be heard and be felt and be seen. You ever know when you're venting and you're like, and I just want to run them over. I just want to kill it all. I just want to ruin it all. I just want to set the whole thing on fire and then tell them that the presentation isn't going to be turned in because I ran it over with my car and that's why the volcano can't even be seen and it was because I did all the work anyways. You guys didn't do anything. You know when you feel like that or some shit? I don't know why this is an 8th grade volcano project. It just seems like it fit. But, you know, when you're in that space, okay, you don't want someone to stop you and then tell you how to solve your problem you don't want all that. You just want to vent. So you're letting the spirit vent. This is not a time for you to act or to talk. It's a time for you to witness. And then when it is done, it will know exactly what to do because it got out all the bullshit so that it could focus on what was real. That's transformation. And then it'll open its eyes, it'll look at you, and it'll say, this is what I want to do next. And it'll come from a totally calm, centered place where your joy is also there because you start to feel yourself being like empowered and you feel yourself coming alive again. If you try to act any time before that, you are walking around with corrosive energy. You will feel like shit the entire time. And by the time you've done the thing that you thought you needed to do and all that kind of bullshit, you will be burnt out, frustrated, and fucked up because you're not doing it with purified energy. Oh my God. The turtle and the frog fell. The frog, purification, clear out the clutter. Turtle, retreat, stop trying to make something happen. Those are the cards for the day. She's a witch. So the turtle, retreat, stop trying to make stuff happen. Go inward. Frog, clear out the clutter. I just told you guys, didn't I? That's crazy. I didn't even see the cards fall. They fell underneath the table. So you saw I had to pick them up and shit, and they fell this way. You know, I didn't know what they were. She's a witch. So that's the message. And that was the message of the day, wasn't it? See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Every single time, don't I pull the cards before we do the whole message? So just to show you guys that it's the synchronous, it's all there. That's how it works. We're interacting with a bioelectric field. None of this shit is hocus pocus. You just can't see it. You just can't see it. And then somebody asked randomly, I didn't pull any cards because we didn't do any traditional like FAQ form. I just took one from class today, went in deep, and then somebody afterwards, what's the card of the day? Did I miss it? I shuffled, 2 cards fall out, and it's the entire message from earlier today and the summation of what I was talking about while I was shuffling the cards. I just wanted to, while I'm shuffling the cards, I just wanted to remind everybody of the overall message and then what came out. The exact message in card form. You can't make stuff like that up because it's divine timing. So if you needed any type of confirmation on how divine timing works, did I look for that? Did I ask for that? Or was I invited to pull cards? I was invited to pull cards. Did I need to prove to you all what the card? Nope, I don't. I don't care. Detachment. And then what happened? The entire bioelectric field said, here you go. Perfect. Wrap it up in a bow. Merry fucking Christmas. Right? Because that's how it works. That's how it works every single time. That's what I tell you guys. I love it. I love it. I interact and I sit with these energies all the time. And especially death. Scorpio, oh my God, I said it. He gives you gifts all the time. That is a gift. That is a gift to say, I am here. I'm here. Full moon in Scorpio. I told you. Presence. Okay, guys, with that, I'm going away now. All this good energy. I should go punch people on Marvel Rivals. It's almost 9. Okay, bye, everybody. Have a good night. Oh, man, that wasn't on the recording, so it's just special for you guys. Look at that. That's how that works, too, isn't it? Okay, everybody. Good night. I was going to say something, but I don't know. I was going to say some funny catchphrase. I think it's time for me to sleep. Oh, what was I going to say? By the way, any questions on the materials, don't forget to email. I do have some emails that I'm reaching back to, so if I owe you an email, just sit with me for a second. And I think that is it. These will be uploaded tomorrow, hopefully, because I have to download the video and then upload it. Hopefully it's done processing. But it'll be up tomorrow, and then I think I have something else for you guys too. Oh, and Peter Pan, the first part of our book club discussion that happened last Tuesday, is up and available for you all, so please watch and enjoy. It also comes with a full discussion, and that's free for everybody, because the Patreon live that was supposed to record for the free session, just the lecture, busted. So benefits of it breaking down and also the negatives of it constantly breaking down. But that's it. I will see you all on Thursday next week. Go out and follow